Start your engines. It is time for the Fast and Furious special. This is Mostly Superheroes. Welcome back to another episode of Mostly Superheroes. That's right. Today is the Fast and Furious special, the much anticipated, probably worldwide, people waiting for this. This is a huge day. People have been talking about this like crazy. And by people, I mean mostly these people on the call today, folks. So we got a kind of a new crew today, mixed with the original crew. And we got a couple first timers on the show today. So I'd like to introduce them first, and we'll get to the regulars. But first up, I probably should go ladies first. My fiance, Carrie, who I talk about all the time. Carrie, welcome to the show for the very first time.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Look at that.
Glad to be here.
Sounds like they like you.
Woo!
Carrie's responsible for our fantastic looking brand, our website. We've talked about these koozies before. That was all Carrie. And now she's on the show today because she is a Fast and Furious fan.
That's right.
And you're here to talk about it.
That's right. I asked you to start a podcast about mostly superheroes, so one day I could come on and talk about the Fast and the Furious.
It was a long con.
It is.
So
yes.
This is what it's all been
the
about.
Big payoff for me is right now.
Okay. Well, this is it. I hope it's everything that you wanted it to be.
Thank you.
Our rest of our folks are actually joining us via the internet today on Zoom, unofficially brought to you by Zoom today. It's two of our normal crew. We got PC Mike and Andy, and this third fella on the call today. I may have misspoke. I called him a Fast and Furious expert. He told me before we started the call today, he's like, "You called me an expert. I'm more of a Fast and Furious fan." Either way, he's here to talk about it. Mikey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I think I'll be an expert by the end of the show, though.
I think everybody is going to be an expert by this time around. By the time you're done, you should know a lot about Fast and the Furious. So we are doing this via Zoom today. I mean, we're on lockdown again.
We're back.
It's just happening again. I mean, if you're here and listen, I mean, real time, these episodes, I don't know if you can tell, we record them. They usually come out a day or two later. Today's November 16th. I mean, St. Louis, by all accounts, is under quarantine. You know, shutting down the bars again, groups of 10 or less, and the holidays are coming. But we made this happen with the power of Zoom. So thank you guys for coming on and joining us via your computers and devices. Mike, PC Mike, how you doing?
I'm good, man. And I was just kind of thinking about the whole shutdown thing. In the spring, I was dreading it, and now since it's like cold and all this stuff, I'm like, you know what, let's shut it down for a couple weeks. Let's chill out. Let's get to the couch. Let's make some chili. Let's have some adult beverages, and let's just hang out for a couple weeks and then recharge the batteries. So I'm fine with it.
That's a great point. I think Carrie and I probably aren't too far off from your thoughts. It's like, I mean, we'd be home during this time anyway, but now it's just an extra layer of put on your cozy outfits and put on a movie, get a warm drink in your hand. It's that time of year.
Like Saturday was disgusting, like the ugliest day of the year. And I was like, I don't hate this. I got takeout like 4 times this weekend and just called it good.
I like the outlook, and hopefully, you know, people out there listening, you know, try to have this outlook like Mike. Hopefully a little optimism can go a long way. Andy, how are you? How was your week? And welcome back.
Yeah, good to be here, man. Pretty low key weekend, and I guess that'll be the norm from here on out. But happy to be back, and I'm ready to learn about Fast and Furious because I have not seen one since maybe the second one. So teach me what I need to know.
All right, and my PC Mike, you're a novice like total novice, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just along for the ride, Logan. But I do. Before we get into it, I do have one question for Andy.
Okay.
How many Dexter episodes did you watch last weekend? Because it was an astonishing amount last time. It was like 18.
I think we probably crushed through a whole season this weekend. We slowed it down a little bit. Watched a little bit more football yesterday. That kind of got in the way, but we're about to just surpass new levels. Like quarantine round 1, we watched 24. Probably one of my top 3 all-time favorite shows, and we probably watched all 8 seasons or 9 seasons in a month. So we're about to just break new records, I think.
I thought you were gonna say in like 14 days we watched the whole season. But
Close.
a month's not too bad.
Oh, well, I think that's probably one of the biggest things going for you, Andy, on this show. The more TV you can watch, the better, because we need people to watch. I need you up to speed on mostly everything out there, so keep on going. Just try to watch it all.
That's why I'm here, baby.
All right, well, guys, I do want to hit our normal segments. We are going to kind of fly through them today. Going to be car noises throughout this entire episode, by the way. But we do have a few segments we want to get through before we get into the meat of Fast and the Furious. So with that, let's go into our first section.
Fan mail.
You might notice we have some new little animations on the screen. Yeah, a little movement. That's all Carrie too. So yeah, thank you, Carrie, for that. And especially with you guys being on Zoom, I thought it would give you a better experience. So you're welcome.
This is only for you guys.
Thank you.
A little bit of fan mail today. All right, so on the screen, I'm sharing a screenshot from Instagram. There's an Instagram shout out right now. This guy right here, I took a screenshot. It says his Instagram handle is the Shazeb Malik. The Shazeb Malik. That's THESHAHZEBMALIK. I do that for you podcast listeners. He likes every photo I put out in every video, and he's always the first one. Big fan. I just had to say, dude, I see ya. We appreciate you. I would say you got to be our #1 fan on Instagram, because if I'm noticing it, we appreciate it. So I had to give this guy a shout out. And to you other people on Instagram, pick it up. This guy is leading the charge, and we're definitely going to keep that in mind.
He might be the one that's shouting, "Woo!" in the back of the audience clapping. Yeah,
what you don't know is he sent me this audio file. It's actually him. So that's our Instagram shout out today. We appreciate you. I butchered your name, but go follow him on Instagram, the Shays B Malik. If you want to see that Instagram handle, we are on YouTube, so go check that out.
Shout out to you too, Logan, for getting that 42 seconds after he liked it.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm a maniac on the social media. Like I said, if you want a shout out or something, I'm legit on it most days.
Yeah, you were there. You were there.
Speaking of which, another fan mail type thing. I did put out a contest. I didn't have a lot of answers on this one. I was pretty upset, but it was Sunday. We did Sunday brunch. We've talked about this on the podcast before. Carrie and I love making brunch. And I put a poll out there of my dirty plate, and I got an image up now for you YouTube watchers. And it was, guess what we had? And it was 3 staple breakfast items. I threw the person that was closest was our friend Shanna, and I hid her last name here. Don't worry, Shanna, we're not going to out you on internet. But she was closest. She said scrambled eggs, pancakes with a berry topping and syrup, and sausage patties.
How do you think she got sauce? Well, okay. All right.
She saw the syrup, and then I guess maybe some meat chunks. She got scrambled eggs right. She got pancakes right. Kind of. Sausage patties are wrong. Did you guys have any guesses? PC Mike, let's start with you.
I was going to go Belgian waffle, so I was wrong. Because I do see the berry. And since you told me sausage patties, did you have bacon instead of sausage patties?
We did have bacon. And we did have pancakes. This is where it gets kind of tricky. We had blueberry pancakes. So that's where you're getting the hints of the blue, the purple. It was it's a really beautiful shot. If you haven't seen it, it's all over our social media. So Shanna, you are closest. We'll she's a close friend of ours too. So we'll do something for you. But we keep these polls going. That one was, what did we have for brunch? I don't know what the hell I'm doing in here. I'm just trying out stuff.
And it definitely looks like the opening titles of Dexter.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I thought you
Dexter
could cut
themed.
yourself while you're eating.
All right, that's all the fan mail today. Like I said, we're going to kind of move through these because I really want to get to some Fast and Furious talk. Oh, there's the right answer. I forgot I put a nice little animation in there for you guys to see.
What you watching?
Okay, because what you watching, we're going to go kind of fast today. We already got kind of caught up what Andy's doing with Dexter. That was going to be a big question. And really, I just wanted to ask Carrie and Mike, since you guys are our first timers, I wanted to give you the option to do our favorite segment. Mike, not to put you on the spot, did you have a what you watching for today?
I've actually been watching Dexter with Andy, so
I guess that comes with the roommate territory.
yeah, so it's pretty easy. Also Dexter.
Perfect. And Carrie, how about you? Is there anything you want to highlight? We watch mostly all the same stuff.
Yes, we do. We just started rewatching The Sopranos, which is going to be our big next undertaking. And we are also watching The Undoing from Mike's recommendation, PC Mike, which is great.
We love it.
And we also just started on HBO that show called Murder on Middle Beach, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a documentary that a guy put together about his mom getting murdered. And there's one episode out, and it's great. It's very well made.
Just premiered.
We're into it.
Yesterday. Just came on yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. A lot of HBO. I mean, Mike, it's just reinforcing everything you've been saying about HBO, and we've put out polls out there about the best streaming service. HBO is just coming out with bust-out content. And, yeah, we're loving The Undoing. So thank you for that recommendation. Before we wrap up what you watching, just ending on the murder mystery, I'm glad you brought that up. Just want to highlight real quick, side project I'm working on with some friends from our hometown of Bonne Terre, Missouri. It is a podcast and documentary project for a murder mystery, an unsolved murder, a 30-year-old cold case of a murder that took place in Bonne Terre, about an hour south of here in St. Louis, Missouri. And the podcast is out now. It's put on by our folks over at Blueburn Productions, hosted by Chris Holsey. It's an unbelievable, well-produced podcast, and the first episode is streaming now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, everywhere you get your podcast. And I think they're going to be comfortable with me sharing this because it's just good news. I mean, we've had over 2,000 downloads in about 4 days on the and I didn't even say the title of the show yet, which is the most important piece. Go search for it. It's called Small Town Forgotten, and it's at smalltownforgotten.com. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick. Shout out that podcast, and be sure to go check it out whenever you have time. True crime fans, you're going to enjoy it.
News and rumors.
All right, news and rumors. I just had one piece I wanted to highlight today. If there's anything major you guys want to highlight, don't want to breeze too quickly through our segments, but we got a jam-packed episode today. WandaVision, the much anticipated MCU film, is coming January 15th. So yes, it was delayed past December, but I don't really care at the end of the day. I'm just excited to have a MCU show coming to us within just a couple months, and I'm really, really pumped to get this Phase 4 kicked off, and I really hope they can keep some momentum going with these shows and movies coming up. So that was my big piece I wanted to share with you guys and listeners. Anybody else have any big news they want to cover this week? Anything that you thought we might talk about? I don't want to skip over something that you had, but that was my big news for the week. Oh man, I love it. Okay, we're just going to jump right in.
Pretty quiet. I'm ready.
I think so. I think we are all here for Fast and Furious stuff. So with that,
The meat.
that's right. For the meat, we are focusing on Fast and the Furious, folks. This is the whole episode. This is why we've skipped through the beginning. We want to give you some updates, but we're here to talk about these movies, beginning to end. And I'm excited about how we're going to do this. I really want to focus on, I've told you guys this, I really want to focus on the story. I really want to talk about the beginning of the story, what's happening. We'll go one movie at a time. And then I do have some good fan service for you guys today. I'm going to tell you about the budget of the films, how much they made, and then we'll have some fun with that as we go along too. So to set this up real quick, this franchise kicked off in 2001. All right, you have The Fast and the Furious, a movie about people out in LA racing cars, and little did we know this would set off a franchise of multi-million-dollar budgets and box offices and the most gnarly, crazy, ridiculous stunts and acting scenarios out there in terms of what an action movie is, what we know as action movies. And I don't know about you guys, but I've talked about this before. You know, I grew up watching these in theaters. We grew up with these films coming out in theaters. I mean, The Fast and Furious 3 Tokyo Drift came out in 2006. I was personally turning 16 that year, so it's like, you know, cars were top of mind. But then they got weird, and I feel like there was this stigma around them to where like people made fun of them openly. And then I kept watching, and then it turned out to like I actually really do like the films. I can't get enough of them. Like I talk about them so much, and I made fun of them so much that it becomes like, oh, I'm talking about this a lot because I like it. What about you guys? I'd like to do a roundtable real quick. You know, just kind of your thoughts on the franchise, and how long you've been watching. I know PC Mike is, again, a novice. Andy, it sounds like you're kind of a novice. What about you, Mike? Have you been watching these films since day one, since they came out?
No. So the first time I saw Too Fast, Too Furious on like TBS when I was probably like 14 or 15. It just syndicated, like they always would show it. And so then I watched the first one, and I'm around the same age as you. So 2006, I was like 15, 16. And yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this one. And then I was like, oh, this has nothing to do with the other ones. All right, these are dumb. and then the fourth one was coming out, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it another chance. Fell in love with it again, and I've been a fan ever since. So give me 2009 is really where my fandom kicked off.
All right, and while we're at that part of the screen, Andy, what about you? What's your history with Fast and the Furious? And do you love it? Do you hate it? Have you ever just not cared?
I remember seeing Too Fast, Too Furious. Let's see.
2003?
I was in high school then. I think I saw that in the movie theater with like a bunch of my grade school friends. That's about the last I got from this. I was supposed to watch the fifth one today, but I failed. Got a little too busy at work. But
yeah, you guys were watching them today in preparation for recording tonight.
Yeah, Mike was all about it. Did you watch 4 and 6 today?
Yeah.
What'd you watch?
I watched 4 and 5 today.
I didn't have to watch 5 because I've seen 5 more than all of them probably combined. It's my favorite.
Well, and I think it's good to say, you know, we're talking about 9 films that have been made. They're coming up on their 10th. Just before we get into each one, Fast and Furious 5 is one of arguably the best one. That's always usually the tip. That's what I hear from fans. That's what I see online, and I wanted to kind of talk about that today. So we'll definitely expose it. Carrie, you're a fan.
I have seen every one of them in theater when they first came out. Like, without fail, I was in the theater seeing them. In 2001, when it first came out, I was 16 years old. I had a 1996 Silver Integra, and I had clear taillights on it, and I thought I was the shit. And everyone always talked about how everybody like raced out of the parking lot when the movie was over. And I mean, that was us. We were just so cool. So that was 2001, and you know, you grow, you learn. Now I drive a Civic with fewer bells and whistles, and I still love the movies.
Well, there you go. And as soon as we started watching these together, and then we talked about it on previous episodes, that's when it was like, okay, we gotta bust this thing wide open. All right, so with that, if you guys are cool, I just want to dive into the films. We're gonna get it going, and you'll kind of see the flow that I've kind of chosen to go with here. So opening up, we do have the original film, The Fast and the Furious. This came out in 2001. We gotta give it up for Gary Scott Thompson. He's the guy that created this whole thing. I've seen that he's written the characters. So this guy, this is like his brainchild. I mean, in my mind, I picture him like this is his Star Wars.
His magnum opus is this.
That's right. Like this is his thing. I mean, kudos because it has done it. So the budget on this thing in 2001 was $38 million. And it made. I'd like to do some guest scenarios too, so I might like bounce back and forth on the next slides. I didn't be like I should have done more animations. Damn it. But we'll do some guessing. But for this one, with a $38 million budget, it did make $207.3 million at the box office. I'm just clapping for them. I don't really care about how much money it made, but that's what it did. So I'm going to go through the story. You guys are all here to support me and make sure we don't miss anything before we move on to the next film. So moving through it. You're introduced right away to Brian O'Connor. He's street racing, and he meets a ragtag group of street racers and people in Los Angeles that race cars in their spare time for money. And it turns out they're also in the underground moving of DVD players and TVs to make like extra cash. Like they run in these crews, they do these jobs together. And this is where we meet Vin Diesel, who's kind of like the leader of this like local crew. He's got his family members around. He's dating a woman, sort of, in the first one, named Letty, who's played by Michelle Rodriguez. Vin Diesel, of course, as Dom. And then we turns out Brian is undercover. He's a cop. And he's going to infiltrate these people, all these racers, to get in and turn it on its head, expose everybody, arrest people. But along the way, Brian falls in love with, what's her name?
Mia.
Is it Mia?
Yeah.
Oh, good job. So yeah, this is why you guys are here. I don't know. I don't remember every single detail.
Well, in the first one, it's Mia.
It's Mia, who turns out to be Dom's sister.
That's right.
And that's a clash right away. What's the big highlights in this movie? Basically what happens with Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel playing Dom. He ends up having to, I forget. This is where I need you guys to jump in with it. We just watched all these, by the way. We should have done like a level set. We just watched them all from beginning to end, all the way through even Hobbs and Shaw. We watched everything. But
So
the
can I
first,
jump in with a question?
oh, that's why you're here. You're the whatever, the third party that isn't in the movie. So please ask away.
So first off, Paul Walker's hair in that picture is phenomenal. Gotta give it up for that.
Do you mean in any picture?
Second, so he's infiltrating this to bust a DVD gang. Why is he infiltrating this street racing gang?
So there's
For DVDs?
there's like the semis that are delivering this product are getting knocked off. And it's like a
Okay.
group of street racers and 3 black Civics that are doing it in the middle of the night. And it's Brian's job to figure out who's behind it. And he knows he's got to be in this world to see who has maybe 3 black Civics or who's involved in that. So that leads him to
race. He goes to Dom and all them and races to earn his place in the crew and become like a friend of
just to get street cred.
Dominic Toretto to get street cred. And then he ends up using one of Dom's cars to race, and that's the whole thing. And he wrecks it and like ruins it, and like that's the whole thing in the first movie. Vin Diesel's always saying, "You owe me a 10-second car." That's the thing, right?
That's the thing.
Is he Batman?
No, but that was a really spot on impression.
Well, it's just, it's just grumble, grumble, grumble. I still would like to see the footage of Vin Diesel recording every line of Groot for saying "I am Groot" in 200 different ways. And him going like, "So what am I saying?" And they're like, "You're saying we need to leave now." And he's like, "I am Groot." All right, so then it turns out at the very end, Dom finds out that Paul Walker, Brian O'Connor's rooting against it, or like a cop, But then Brian has a change of heart at the very end and says, I'm going to let you go as the cops are coming to, like, take Dom down. Everybody think that's right?
Yeah, so there's like a huge, they call it race wars, first of all, which in itself is wild that that's what it's called. But there's like this huge race where like all these street racers go. There's like another crew who is the Asian crew. The guy's name is Johnny Tran, and him and Dom are like beefing the whole movie. And so you don't know if like he's the one who's like stealing the DVD players or if it's Dom and his crew, but like they're like the two racing crews in LA. And then yeah, so they like go from that and they're like, we got one more job. We're gonna bust out this huge deal of DVDs, and then it all goes haywire. And so then Brian has to be like, all right, I'm a cop, I need medical assistance, and then blows his whole cover with Mia, who he's in love with.
Mm-hmm.
It's tragic. So great.
I mean, it's like a classic, Romeo Juliet type thing. I mean, epic love story.
But also a do the right thing.
And also a do the right thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. These movies have good lessons, and it's all about family.
Familia.
That's
Family.
right. Family.
My familia.
I ran out of time today. I was gonna go pick up Coronas.
Yeah, it's a big regret of ours.
I'm not even kidding. I know. I messed up. So that's the first one.
We have to talk about Jesse,
Let's talk about Jesse.
just real quick.
Please.
Little side.
We're gonna move. I
storyline
can
in
already
these.
tell we're gonna move through these. So yeah, absolutely.
Jesse was just the young kid that Dom took under his wing, and he was a smart kid. He was a genius. He could like put his hand on a car and just tell you everything about the engine.
He's a skinny little
He
kid.
was a skinny little kid. He was nervous. He smoked cigarettes all the time, and he always got into trouble. But he was at race wars, and his ego got the best of him, and he was racing for slips, and he put papers for his Jetta up and lost to Johnny Tran, and then
Hits
freaked
like
out
rock bottom.
and left.
Yeah.
And that became a whole thing, and that's when they all were meeting back at the house, and Johnny Tran's people came by and
Drive by,
and Jesse died, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was
Very sad.
It was very sad.
So,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're right, because I remember when that happened, it had struck a chord with you. You were like,
Poor little
"Oh no,
Jesse.
this is the part with Jesse," and I was like, "I don't know who Jesse is." I don't know. Mike, anything else? Mike,
Don't
anything
race for
else?
slips.
Mike, anything else on the first one before we
I
move
was
on?
gonna say, I feel like it's worth mentioning. There's a guy in their crew named Vince who, like, from the jump,
Yes.
is immediately skeptical of Brian.
Yeah, he's the
Like,
guy
he's
going.
a buster.
He's definitely up to something. Yeah.
Side note, that guy's from East St. Louis, Matt Schultz. So St. Louis connection.
Wow. Hey, a little STL making it into the Fast Saga. That's pretty impressive. Oh
He,
yeah.
didn't he grow up in Saga, I
Dude,
think?
we
Yeah, over on the east side.
Yeah, what would that be like?
we didn't even talk about. We are definitely like St. Louis out. Like I don't know if it's like St. We look like tourists in our own town. Like, what you got? You got a battle? Is that a Battlehawks?
Yeah, I got a Battlehawk City on.
We got the arch. You guys have an arch backdrop behind you. Carrie's wearing an emo shirt. That's
Yes, my other love.
St. Louis staple. That Barstool CEO president guy. He shit on emos. Said it tastes like crackers.
He gave it a good score when he actually went to it, though. A
Oh, he
decent
did?
Score.
Oh,
The Frozen one, he gave a bad score.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's good. We love it.
Oh yeah.
Andy, you just said you just had it a couple nights ago.
Oh yeah. We had it last night.
Maybe the best T-Ravs in town. Those are toasted
The
raviolis.
best T-Rabs in the world.
That's right.
Sounds
We'll give
so
them.
good right now.
That's right, Vince. And Vince comes back to play later in the film. So let's make sure we don't forget about that. All right, so that's the first one. All right, let's see if you guys can guess this next one. Don't look at the screen real quick, all of you. Don't look at the screen. Don't look at it. Oh, never mind. This next one doesn't even have a budget. You can look. This is the one that I didn't know existed until today, and I texted you guys. It's not a movie. It's a 6-minute turbocharged prelude. That's literally the title, the turbocharged prelude, and it's the Paul Walker 6-minute story from his journey from L.A. to Miami right before Too Fast, Too Furious starts. Do you guys know about this? Did you know about it?
I didn't
Yeah,
until
I've
today.
seen it.
So Carrie didn't. Mikey, you said you knew about it.
Yeah, Minka Kelly, is that her name? From
From Gossip Girl.
Lila Garrity, she's in it randomly.
She's in Gossip Girl too, right? She's like,
I've never seen it.
I'm pretty sure she's like one of the main stars. But it's like a six.
Oh, is she a Gossip Girl?
A Gossip Girl. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I think she is. You remember the main
She's
chick?
in,
You said you watched
Titans.
it today.
I did watch
Yeah,
it,
Titans as well.
but I don't think that the main.
No.
There's two main chicks in Gossip Girl.
Well, the main chick in the Paul Walker turbocharged Prelude to Too Fast and Furious. There's a girl in there. Anyway, this thing is wild. It's like 6 minutes. He's running from the law. He's like on the run. He like wins a couple races to like pay for his journeys across the United States. He hooks up with like this girl that we're talking about, stays overnight with her, runs from the cop. She like helps him escape. And then he pulls it. This was my favorite part. He's got a fork in the road. And it's either New York or Miami. And I was like, when would he be going to New York? Because he goes, and then he makes the turn to Miami. And I was like, you were always going to Miami. Isn't that where Ludacris and everybody is? I mean, that's Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, that's why he went to Miami.
All I'm saying is poor direction.
I wonder if they were going to like release this before the movie, because it came out as like a DVD extra. But the first Fast and Furious movie is based off of a New York Times article about, and it was called Racer X. So I wonder if they were like, oh, is he going to go to New York like the article? Or is he going to go to Miami, which is what the movie does? But it came out after the movie was already in theaters and we already saw it. So like, I don't know what they're
Wow.
going for.
Hey, nice tidbit there. This is why we have you on the show right now. That was really good. Expert, right. Sounds like an expert to me. I mean, all that could be not true, but I'm like, it sounded really true.
No, if you say it on the internet, it's real. That's the rule.
That's the rule. Well, this is what I found on the internet. This is from IMDb. This is just the synopsis. Taking place after the Fast and the Furious, Brian O'Connor tries to evade the law, which leads up to the events of Too Fast, Too Furious. Like, it really spells it out for you. All right, so with that, did you guys see it?
Mm-mm.
All right, so Too Fast, Too Furious. Remember, the first budget was $32 million, but it made $207 million. The budget for this one was $78 million. So they got like basically about double the money. How much do you think they made compared to $207 million from the first one?
500.
I'm going to say 350 million. 350.
236 million. You guys are way off. You would have thought a lot more though, right? Because I mean, they
That's
like
a shit ton of money.
that's a shit ton of money. It's still
He did a womp womp.
yeah.
They still made $150 million.
Well, wait until you see what they
Okay.
eventually make.
All right.
Like that's where you're going to be really blown away. So Too Fast, Too Furious. This one came out in 2003, 2 years after the first one. This one, thank God for that prelude. You know exactly what's happened. But even if you didn't, Brian O'Connor is now, it opens up. This is the one that opens up with him like in the car on the roof doing like his donuts by himself. And he does like some stunt and he's alone. And it's like the opening sequence of the film. And he gets the stunt done and he gets done and he goes, yeah, yes. Like he did it correctly. And I was like, how would we know if that was correct? He did like a donut on a roof. And then that's like, all right, welcome to Too Fast, Too Furious. All right, well, then drops him into Miami. So he's left L.A. He's coming to Miami. Mike, I feel like you should take over from here. Like, he meets up with Ludacris, I feel like, right away. Ludacris is hosting he's got a new race crew. He's hosting a race. This is where he's got the big afro. And, of course,
You just got home from doing a bid. What you gonna do?
act a fool.
Cool.
This is Too Fast, Too Furious. This is the title and the song. Ludacris, of course, is throughout all these films. He's so good. Tetch.
Is his name.
Could not think of his name. He's got a new crew in Miami. Brian shows up. Actually, he doesn't show up. Ludacris calls him and says, hey, get down here and race. Because the guy that was getting ready to race, there was two of them. He goes, hey, we're missing a third. And the guy goes, get anybody here. And Ludacris goes, anybody? And the guy goes, yeah. And then Brian shows up and everybody goes, oh, shit, it's Brian.
dude's just made a name for himself in Miami.
Look how long has he even been there? Like everybody already knows who he is.
And this
Is he still a cop?
He went coast to coast, LA to Miami, just winning street race after street race. Like, who's not going to know about
I guess
Brian?
that's true. I guess
Well, true.
that's why you needed the prelude, was to help you with like, oh, this is how Brian O'Connor has his rep. Good question, PC Mike. He is still working with the police because he has to, right? Because he let Dom go, so they're like, you owe us now.
Well, so he gets busted street racing,
Yes.
and then they're like, all right, we're not going to lock you up, but you got to be undercover again.
You got to be undercover, and he says, only if I can pick my guy. And they're like, we already got you a guy. And that one FBI agent doesn't know anything about cars. And he's like, huh, I see you read the brochure, which is a line dropped throughout these films. And he says, yeah, I'm going to, only if I get my guy. And this is where one of the best characters of the entire franchise comes into play. Tyrese comes in. And this is where, I love Tyrese. I don't know about you guys. I think he's like the comedic relief. He always comes in swinging hard. He's here for the movies, and this is where we meet him. Apparently, Brian O'Connor is only going to do this if he can get his friend in here, who he apparently betrayed years ago. Tyrese hates, what's his name in the movie?
Roman Pierce.
Roman Pierce. Good job, Mikey. So we got Roman Pierce. He's got the ankle brace on. This is a funny part that happens in the movie. The cop and Brian O'Connor eventually convince him to go. It's a big fight and all this. He's like, I'm not going. Of course he goes. And he's like, how'd you get your ankle bracelet so close to the racetrack where you're working? And he's like, I never leave home. And his home is the trailer. It's a mobile trailer. And I was like, oh, I guess he can just go wherever he wants. That's cool. So anyway, they get working together. Brian and Tyrese have to do a job to infiltrate a big crime boss who is
like a drug lord.
Like a drug lord who's moving drugs.
Needs drivers.
He needs drivers. Go ahead, please.
And there's going to be an audition, and this is how Brian and Rome are going to get in.
Yes,
and
they have to be drivers, of course.
Right. So drug lord has this girlfriend who's also part of the FBI or whatever. What's her name?
She's the girl on the poster here.
Eva.
Yeah,
Eva Mendes.
I can't think of her name in the movie.
I can't think of it either, but I love how whenever he sees her, just a flashback real quick, he sees her whenever he gets caught busted. She's just standing in the middle of the crowd. And I was like, how would you, like, she was like, how'd you notice me? I'm like, how would she, like, she was like glowing. But anyway.
And in that, back to that first race, though, we also get a glimpse of Ja Rule racing as well. And he's the one that's racing for the two girls.
Yes.
And he loses the race and just screams, Monica! Which is one of the best parts early in the movie. But
yes.
back to Crime Lord house.
Yes,
audition.
And that's the audition, and this is how they're going to get into this crew to take down this crime lord. This is how Ryan's going to get out from under the police. This is how Rome's going to earn back his freedom. And then along the way, Brian is basically falling for Eva Mendes, and it's this whole back and forth. Sorry, what?
Her name is Monica
Fuentes.
Thanks, PC Mike.
Of course.
Appreciate you having the PC. I mean, you're on the PC, so might as well. It's just another tab, right?
Vote on tabs.
Mike has that on his car. It's a bumper sticker.
So Rome and Brian end up going a huge back and forth. There's tons of shootouts. I feel like it's them against all of them the whole time. The cops screw up a lot along the way. And then I
don't want to listen to them because they're like, it's James Remar, who's like the cop that keeps getting in his way, who's in Dexter.
Yes, the dad in Dexter.
So tie that back in. But so he like doesn't like Brian because he thinks that he knows everything and Brian's just trying to like skeet out on him. And so Eva Mendes, Monica Fuentes, she's like playing both sides where she's like trying to give him information, but at the same time, like she's also working her case independently of the case that Brian's working for, like the Miami police.
Right. She's working it too, but just on her own with her, with the CIA. She's with the CIA or something like that.
I think FBI.
FBI. Okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, like they've got their, they're playing to like bust him, but he kind of always seems like he's one step ahead because they want to get like the bigger price of like bringing down his whole organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so Monica Fuentes is like tipping him off on that, but then she's tipping off Paul Walker. But Barone's like getting suspicious because he sees the budding relationship between them. And he's a powerful drug lord, he's a jealous man. He's
That's
putting
right.
like rats on people's stomach.
Yeah,
and
that's
buckets over it, heating it up, and he's gonna be like, he's got to go somewhere, and he's not chewing through this metal bucket. He's gonna chew through your stomach if you don't do what I want you to do.
Yeah.
You don't kill your family.
This is the rat. This is the heated up rat. Yeah, where he gets that cop. I don't know that guy's name, but he was in the Mandalorian season 1. Big scruffy guy, curly
Sons
hair.
of Anarchy too.
Sons of Anarchy. I forget his name, but he's really great. That's one of those moments that like stick with you from Fast and the Furious. Like, oh yeah, there's one with a rat and a torch.
Yeah.
So yeah, he Eva Mendes tips him off that after they do this job for him, then the guys that they're driving with, who are their accomplices, are going to kill him. So they know going into like their last big heist that they gotta somehow be one step ahead. So he enlists the help of Ludacris, and they've got this. I love this scene, and I think Too Fast, Too Furious gets a lot of like heat for being a bad movie. I disagree, but whatever. But like they go into his garage, and then they close it, and then they open it back up, and just like a million cars pull out. You've got like huge trucks that are like hitting the police cars out of the way that are chasing them, and it's just a million different types of cars. Causes all kinds of causes all commotion, and yeah, they end up switching cars and getting out of there.
And then the guy gets away, and then he's gonna leave on a boat. Right. Am I getting ahead of myself?
No, that's about it. This is it.
You're right there.
So the main bad guy is in the boat. He's got I wish I could remember his name. He's like classic 90s like sweaty villain.
Oh yeah, white linen pants, yacht.
Yep, all of it. Like
unbuttoned.
Chain like a necklace. And he takes the boat out, and he's like, all right, he's making a run for it at this point.
He's got the girl.
And
he knows she's a cop now.
He knows.
Yep, yeah. He knows everything.
She did.
It was that weird scene at the end that I felt like this is where I think why people got lost in Too Fast, Too Furious. All of a sudden, they're like near the boat, and like they're in a trailer, and like the boss like shows up, and I swear he's like, Brian. She's like, what are you doing here? The girl's there with like Brian, and I was like, I think either I missed something and like dozed off, or all of a sudden we're like at the end here.
So the big thing was supposed to be that they were going to go to the airfield to get away.
Right.
That they had this PJ, this private jet.
This is the one with the ejector seats.
Yes. So that's the NOS.
Yes.
That's how NOS comes into play in this one. Because we haven't even talked about NOS yet.
We haven't even talked about NOS. NOS is it's not made. It's a real chemical, right?
I mean, I would assume, yeah.
The folks on how to
nitrogen oxide.
Yeah.
It's nitrous oxide. Okay, all right.
It's not an energy drink that you get at 7-Eleven.
It is now.
Same brand.
It definitely inspired it.
Yes, but this one, they packed both cars with eject buttons that were NOS powered in case things get too crowded, they said.
And and Paul tells that to the guy working on the cars as if he knows exactly what that means.
Tyrese has like a classic line, ejecto-cedo, cuz. One of my favorite lines in any movie.
Tyrese got a lot of good ones in this line.
In this movie. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love him.
Pockets ain't empty, cuz.
That's this one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So then the plan changed. Anyway, Brian and Dom are in Rome end up being in this. They're in the car. They're in the same car. Every how, but the boat's getting away, and there's only one way to stop this boat and to get them back, and it's to jump the car into the boat.
Of course.
And it's not like what you're picturing. If you've ever seen this movie, it's like literally just like it's like between the size of a speedboat and a small yacht. Like it's not like that big. It's a big boat, but I mean he ramps it perfectly, lands right on it. They get out and they're like, "We got you." Anything else on two? On Too Fast, Too Furious? Favorite parts? Favorite quotes?
I have two things that I just saw researching on my PC. Do you know the film that this took the top spot from in the United States when this came out?
In 2003.
2003.
I don't know.
Signs? I guess Signs.
Good guess.
Anybody else?
Titanic.
2003. I don't know.
I think Vin Diesel would want it to be Chronicles of Riddick.
Chronicles of
but
Riddick.
it's probably not.
Close, everyone. It was Finding Nemo.
No.
Oh.
And then, so I think it was the other Mike said it is not respected. Well, Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times gave it a 3 out of 4 stars and said this: "It doesn't have a brain in its head, but it's made with skill and style. And boy, it is fast and furious."
That's a pretty good quote. And it's really true too. It's like, okay, I understand. And like that's where you have to be when you watch these movies, I feel like, is just enjoy the ride.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Just enjoy the ride. Don't get too caught up. But I, for one, after watching all these, I feel like the stories do hold up pretty good in their universe.
Except like what happened? Like what about Mia in this one? That made me mad a little bit.
Yeah, so she's just not in it.
Okay.
And then
Is Vin Diesel in this?
Vin Diesel is not in this, but he is. Is he at the end?
Not at
No.
all.
Not at all. Not even. Not
None
at all.
of them.
The only
And neither is
Fast and
Letty.
Furious movie, Vin Diesel doesn't make a single appearance.
Yeah.
He was filming Triple X at this time, and that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember reading that he was doing Triple X, which I've never seen any of those. I've never seen the Chronicles of Riddick either. Vin Diesel fans are like really upset right now.
All 11 of them.
You'd be surprised. There's some big Facebook groups out there just for Vin Diesel. Talking like 250,000 people.
Yeah, he's a big DJ now.
He's a DJ.
Yeah, he's got a banger of a song. You should look it up.
You know what I did? You know what I actually messaged him on Instagram along with the rest of the cast and Universal Studios and like separately, and I sent him the Zoom link and I was like, just jump in if you guys have time. And like I sent it to The Rock, so I don't know if they'll jump
We'll
in,
see.
but they have it.
Maybe
Hey,
they're
are you monitoring the room?
they're
though?
in the
Because
waiting
it took
room.
me a
That's the
while to get
problem.
in.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I got to keep an eye on the participants. What if I just saw in there?
12.
It said like The Rock waiting. I'd be like, oh
Yeah,
my
just
god.
sitting there waiting.
All right, so that's Too Fast, Too Furious. Let's move on to what I consider no offense, Mike. I see you have a red beard. I was gonna say the redheaded stepchild of the Fast and Furious saga, but I see Andy too. You guys look like brothers sitting there.
Yeah, we are.
You look like a couple of St. Louis brothers.
Spend a lot of time together, so.
All right, so this is the again redheaded stepchild, the one that like again I think you said it, Mike. This film takes you completely out of everything you know about Fast and Furious.
Yeah, what
There is no
happened?
Brian O'Connor. There is no Vin Diesel. It drops you into the Midwest. What's the guy's name?
Sean.
Sean. And
Lucas Black.
is that the guy's
Lucas Black.
is that the guy's name? And
yeah, it's his real name.
And this was the one that felt like, for me, they looked at the numbers, I feel like, and they were like, hey, listen, we went really heavy on LA lifestyle. We have to get the Midwesterns back on our side. And like they drop you into like it's like a Midwest region. This guy's got a thick accent draw. He loves to race. Sean, he loves to race. His arch enemy at his high school is the guy that plays Brad in Home Improvement, like the oldest son. I don't know if his name's Brad.
Zachary Ty Bryant, I believe.
I believe that is.
His name.
Good job. Yeah, that's really good. How'd you know that?
I watched Home Improvement.
Was he in anything else?
Yes. I think he might have been in like 10 Things I Hate About You or
Okay.
that.
Well, he's like the football player jock. They get in a race. There's a big accident, a huge race. Like they drive through some houses, some residential houses, very different from like the city of downtown LA, or Miami. The mom gets real upset with this guy, her son, because he keeps getting in trouble. It's happened many times. So she says, "You know what? That's it. You're going to Tokyo."
That's the solution.
And that's what happens. She sends him to Tokyo to go live with his dad.
But we don't even know he's going to his dad. We just think he's in trouble and he's going to Tokyo.
They let you believe for 15, probably
He's on a plane. I'm like, what is this punishment?
Movie minutes. It was probably like 8 full minutes of like literally she's like, you're going to Tokyo. And he gets on the plane. He goes to Tokyo. And me and Carrie are sitting there going like, this is crazy. Like, what happened? Like, why did she send him to Tokyo? And then he shows up, knocks on the door. It's his dad's house. His dad has a young hooker.
I think it's a hooker. I think you're supposed to think it's a hooker.
Who? Because I was like, the girl walks past and the kid is like, Carrie said it. She's like, oh, you're up to your old tricks again, Dad. And I was like sitting there like, are we supposed to be upset that she was young or that she was Asian? Like, why are we supposed to be upset? So the dad's like, stay out of trouble. Don't join any race crews. So the guy joins a race crew.
Day one.
2 rules.
Day one.
Day one.
First day of school.
First day of school, doesn't come home.
Hops behind the wheel of somebody else's car.
Somebody else's car who turns out to
Just
be
tosses the keys.
Han. Justice for Han, baby. Does anybody have the actor's name, Mike? If nobody has it, maybe PC Mike, you could look it up for us. But it's Han. Oh, his name is Sung. It's Sung something. S-U-N-G.
Sung Kang. His name's Han Lu.
Nice job. And I see you, Mikey. You guys know these actors' names better than I do. I'm so bad at that. This is where we meet Han. Han's like he's the best character in the movie. People loved him. He has a lot of insight. He lets this Sean guy race his car in Tokyo drifting, which is a new style of a Tokyo style of street racing where Sean's gonna have to learn. And just I actually called this sound Tokyo Drift for you guys. That's it. Around and around and around. They race inside parking garages and
just ruin tires. And this Sean guy can't help himself. He's like, I want to be in the race crowd. Challenges like the biggest, baddest dog around. Han says, use my car. The kid fucks this car up. Like, it is ruined. All of it.
Oh, Lil Bow Wow's in this movie. Oh, hold on. I had a sound ready. I got to get my board ready again. It's like, here we go. Lil Bow Wow, I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was, like, a lot of fun. He brought a fun energy. And, what other movies did he do besides? He did Like Mike, didn't he?
Like Mike, yeah.
Like Mike.
Are they like, we have to have a rapper in these films now?
Sounds like it.
It sounds like it, yeah. It was definitely like a thing. Like, which rapper or how many rappers could you get it? It's almost like Halloween, with Busta Rhymes. Go check out the Halloween special if you haven't yet. Yeah, LL Cool J made it. Yeah, it's like they must have been on the same. It's definitely Hollywood. This is a Universal Studios picture for sure. It's definitely Hollywood.
Hey, who's hanging around outside that we can throw in this film? Hey, Bow Wow, jump on in. You're Tokyo Drifting.
And his name is Twinkie.
And he
Great
had
name.
a steering wheel in his backpack. That's like how they found out that they both like cars. They're in a high school cafeteria, and he has a Sparko steering wheel in his backpack. And he's like, is that a steering wheel?
He goes, oh, you like cars?
I can drive. And then they go race. That was it.
Yeah.
I've never made a friend that easily.
And not only did they make friends immediately, he goes, I'm driving. And then he's driving Lil Bow Wow's car. And Lil Bow Wow sitting in the passenger seat like, it's my car.
In Japan.
In Japan.
On the other side.
Japan.
Also.
Yeah, can immediately drive in Tokyo, no problems.
Is it the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it in the movie.
Yeah.
All right, so long story short, this guy ends up moving out of his dad's place. He's like, I'm full-time Tokyo Drifter now. I'm in Han's crew. Han has a garage. They're all doing great. Han has actually been working undercover on double agent under his crew he's been working for. And his crew is doing some bad stuff. The guy that runs his crew, his uncle's the baddest mobster in Tokyo. They do, I don't know, drug trafficking. I don't know exactly what they do.
They just say Yakuza. They don't
Yeah.
really get into it.
You're exactly right. The Yakuza, there's always money changing hands. Han's
Blanketed, it's just Yakuza. You don't know anything else.
Yakuza bad. You're like, okay, got it. Han's taking money back.
Yeah, so the Yakuza boss's grandson is Takashi, not Tekashi 6ix9ine, but just Tekashi. And he is nicknamed DK for Drift King. He's
Of
the
course.
baddest drifter of them all.
Right, the best drifter in all
He's
town.
got like the high school age girlfriend, which is really weird because he's a grown man and she's in high school, but he's like hanging out with high schoolers and he's really cool at drifting cars.
Yeah, they didn't really address that. Like he's like early 20s, and this girl is literally in high school.
Yeah, and she says that like when her parents died or her mom died, like the Yakuza boss kind of took her in and took pity on her and like made sure she wasn't on the street. So it's just like a really weird situation.
And she very much likes Sean. She like they openly are connected from the get-go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think the big stuff is Han talks about a little bit. So this is where it's really interesting for me. So we didn't even say this yet, but like just getting there. At the time, you didn't know what was happening, but he talks about this other crew he ran with in the movie. He's like, I used to ran with another crew, and we used to kind of like cowboys. I think he said. He's like, we were like cowboys or something. And we'll get there. So the Yakuza boss ends up being like, he's like, all right, that's enough, whatever. DK, get back to doing your stuff. DK wants to kill Sean because he's been like messing around with this girl. And then he ends up DK kills Han because he finds out Han was stealing from him. He goes to his garage and he kills him. No, he kills him in the car. He's in the car chase at the.
Yeah, it's a huge chase.
It's a huge chase. It's through Tokyo. It's like you think it's like gonna be the very end of the movie. Oh, like Han dies.
It's like cut to where like Sean like turns the corner and like he doesn't see what happens, but it's just
he hits a car.
Crashed car, explosion.
And that's it. Han's dead.
I'm gone.
And you're like, wow, that was quick. So then Sean's like, you know what? I'm just going to go talk to the Yakuza. He just goes to the Yakuza's favorite strip club or club, walks in. He says, hey, ma'am, your kid have been doing a lot of bad stuff, and I know we've really been annoying, but we could just settle it with a race. And
I can drive now.
I can drive now. I've been practicing drifting for months. And
learned it from the best.
Yeah, I learned it from the best. Han, he's dead. He was my friend. But DK, you want to race?
I closed my eyes, and that was the movie right there.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
So they race. DK loses. New King Drifter. Do what?
It's like they race down this huge mountain.
Good call. DK's mountain.
Turns, you gotta drift.
Yep.
Down a mountain.
DK's mountain. It's like the one that he knows better than anybody, and it's literally mountainside.
Which was also my favorite race in Mario Kart.
Yeah, it's just like Mario. It felt like
DK Mountain.
It felt like Mario Kart. You're just gonna fly off the side.
I know.
And he got really good at drifting, I guess.
He did.
He won. He beats him. Good job, Sean. And then fan service is how I took this. Vin Diesel is at the very end. And someone goes up to Sean. Sean is now running Han's garage. Really made a name for himself in Tokyo. And
quick.
He just said fuck you to his dad, right?
Oh, his dad ended up helping him. He gave him his car that he was working on, and it became like a father-son moment.
That's right.
He's like, oh, you can use my car. They had like 3 days to build the best car in the whole world, and they did it. It was like Ford versus Ferrari, but just Tokyo Drift.
It was just a Nissan.
All right, so that's Tokyo Drift. We do get Vin Diesel at the end. All right.
So I do actually have a couple of interesting things that I wrote down about this movie.
Please.
One, it takes place chronologically between 6 and 7.
I was gonna wait. I apologize.
But
no, go ahead because we should address it now. It's like this turns out to be a prequel.
Yeah.
So yeah, because like at the time you watch this and it has nothing to do with the other movies until Vin Diesel shows up at the very end.
Right.
But this is not actually the first time where Han is in a movie. So yeah, I just found this out today. I thought it was super interesting.
When's he in a movie?
There's a movie called Better Luck Tomorrow that is also directed by Justin Lin, who directed this movie.
Oh my God, here we go.
And the character is the exact same name, and his origin story, like that's essentially Han's origin story, like confirmed, like it's in their universe as Han's origin story, even though it was done in like 2002, so like the year before this. But it's the same name, it's like the same everything. And the guy Earl, who's like working in his shop with them, who's like the nerdy guy with the computer, is his cousin Virgil in this movie as well. And Better Luck Tomorrow. I've never seen it, but now I want to.
I think
But
we
yeah.
have to, especially if it's in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, now that you're saying this, I feel like I remember this. That this was like a character that came from somewhere. He was really popular. They didn't want him to go away. They're like, we got to have him back. But and also, like, he was just from a different movie. You're saying though, and I've never seen that either.
Yeah, so I guess that's where like the director got the inspiration for this and like really liked him, and like he was like a fan favorite from this movie. So they're like, well, how do we get him into the other movies? But the director had already made the decision to like use the same character from his first movie that he did.
Mm-hmm.
That he had him in there, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, they I'll tell you right now, these guys they're bold. They just do it like this. Justin Lin and and the team at Fast and Furious, they're like, we are gonna do whatever our hearts desire, and I think that's what we love most about the franchise. It's like we're just gonna do whatever we want.
159 million.
So yeah, 85 million made 159 million. Okay, so this one made like 50 million less than Too Fast, Too Furious. So they gave them a little bit more money. I think about 7 more million for Tokyo Drift. They missed their mark in terms of what they made last time. So they gave them the same amount of money for Fast and the Furious 4, which is titled Fast and Furious. Anybody want to guess on the budget or what they made at the box office with about $87 million for budget?
350.
275.
300.
363.2 million. So this one came back. This is where we get the crew back. We got Brian O'Connor, we got Ben, we got Letty, and we got Jordana Brewster.
Yeah.
Is that her real name? Did I mess that up?
Jordana.
Jordana. Sounds like a type of lemonade. Okay, so this is like where you get the crew back. It's like, all right, enough of this Tokyo Drift bullshit. Everybody was upset. We were upset. I was like, what was that Tokyo Drift? This is where they come back. And this is the one where it's like it's like where they really kick it up a notch. I just want to, we're talking big picture, but why don't you just, Mike, go ahead. If you can just drop us right back into where they kick off.
So this one starts with they're in the Dominican and they're doing like this huge heist, like going down the highway on these gas tankers, and it's Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez is back as Letty, and then there is Han.
Yep.
And he's with the girl, and then there's 2 other guys, and so they're gonna steal these gas tankers that are like while they're driving. So they've got these special trucks that they're gonna hook onto it.
These are the hook-ons, where they push and hook on.
And she like jumps on and has like the whatever the stuff is that'll freeze it. I guess nitrous oxide freezes and then hits it with a hammer so they'll come off. But there's issues.
She loses the hammer. She loses the hammer and then has to like freeze the one. And then Vin Diesel's like, "Don't worry, I can hit it with my car to break it loose."
Yeah, so he does like a complete 360, hits it in the process, and like knocks the last one off because the driver gets wise and starts shooting at him. And he's got his pet iguana with him, who he calls a greedy bitch. And I laughed really hard at that today when I watched it. I just didn't remember it. It was like the very beginning.
Right.
So after that, Han, like they get the gas, they get their money.
They're at the bottom. That's the end of the big sequence. I remember this. They're at the bottom of the hill. This is the one where the gas tanker is rolling toward them, and Letty is like, "Punch it, Dom, punch it," and he's like, "Wait," and he punches it, and then he slides it right under the tanker as it bounces over them. By far the least craziest thing you'll ever see in a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, and like you said, like this is where it gets really ramped up.
Yes.
So like it's just this crazy thing, which since this is a mostly superhero podcast, can we say that Dom Toretto has superhuman driving abilities? Like,
Yes.
is he a superhero when it comes to driving?
I mean, we are just now getting into Fast 4, and this is where we're going to, we're going to turn it up along with Fast and the Furious. This is where I feel like they get, like, Avengers status. Like, they become full-on-fledged superpowers. Like, they can't lose fights. They can... This is the one...
Is this the
No, it's not... It's...
where he catches her across the highway?
No, that's the next one, because the next one is the one where he does that. I know,
Okay.
yeah, we'll get there.
All right.
All right, let's keep going to 4. But I want to get there, Mike. But just a short answer. Yes, I very much agree that these guys are superheroes.
Okay. So after they drive under the exploding gas tanker, they're like on the beach now. They've got their cut of the money. Han tells Dom that, hey, the FBI raided our place. Like,
Time
we
to
can't
move.
go back there.
Time to move,
And
right?
Dom's like, all right, well, they're after me. Like, I'm the wanted guy. Like, they don't even really know you guys. If you're with me, you're going to get in more trouble. We have to separate. And Letty is like, no, I don't want to separate. You know, we're in love. They go to sleep. Dom dips out in the middle of the night. He loves her too much. He can't bear to see her go down for his crimes.
Shouldn't have done that, right?
Because then Dom's, I believe, in Puerto Rico or Panama. He's somewhere else. He's still hiding. He gets a call from his sister. Letty is dead.
She's been murdered.
She has been murdered. And obviously, it's the love of his life.
Oh, big bone. He's like, man, and he left to protect her.
Yes.
It's time to come back home.
So then you're done seeing Dom for a minute. It flashes over to Brian. Brian's back with the FBI.
Yeah.
So Brian's working as a cop now.
He's got the suit on.
Not
He's
even undercover.
got the suit.
Suited up. Yeah. Suited up. So they're trying to find out, what's the guy's name? Braga. He's like this big cartel guy down in Mexico. They know he's running drugs. They don't know how.
Yep.
They're like, Brian, you know how to drive cars. You know this world. We're going to enlist your help. We're going to have you be a driver for this drug cartel, or we're going to try. So he's trying to track down how they can do that. While at the same time, Dom's trying to track down to get into the same exact thing because she was working for that cartel whenever she got murdered.
Yes. And he wants to see the crash site.
Yes. So Dom and Brian end up converging on the same guy, David Park.
Well, hold on. Let's not skip the scene where Dom plays crash investigator of the best of all time, like where he could literally stand in the middle of the street. He sees the tire marks, and he literally sees the entire sequence of events play out before his eyes in his own mind, including like when she got shot.
That is true.
Right? Like that's the whole thing. That's how he gets on the trail of this, and this is how they end up being on the same path because like there's the guy that was driving the car that killed Letty, and then it crosses paths with whoever Brian's chasing down.
And he like bends down at the crash site and like sees something, like some residue on the street, and he's like, "Oh, only one type of engine will have this, or a certain engine will have this, and I only know one guy who can do that." So he goes and sees that guy.
Detective Dom.
Detective Dom is on the case.
I mean, brilliant detective. Car detective.
Car whisperer, Dom Toretto.
So they converge, and they still have like kind of bad blood, but not like they're still just like busting balls with each other, Brian and Dom. Like,
yeah.
Like they still don't really love each other, but they're like still like, but they do like each other. And Mia's back in this one. So they're having a whole thing, I guess, again.
They're back in love, and they are planning on doing this one job and then being gone, right? I think.
I don't think so. I think that's 5.
Not yet? Okay,
I think that's 5. Yep.
But this is the one, not Brian and Mia, but when
It's
Gal
always
Gadot
one
comes
last
in.
job.
Do what now?
Gal Gadot.
I said
comes
it's
in.
always just one last job.
Yeah, this is Gal Gadot. Is Gal Gadot in this one?
Yes.
Because Letty's gone, So Dom's new love interest is Gal Gadot.
And when they
Gaga
meet,
is.
She works for the cartel. She like helps recruit the racers and like gets them set up.
I remember getting confused in this one. I remember being like partway through, and I was like, "What garage are they at? Who's in charge?"
So they essentially Dom wins like the street race to be the second guy to be the runner. There's already a first guy. So Paul Walker loses. He's mad.
He's mad.
He ends up raiding the first guy's house, who I think this guy's name is Dwight in the movie. He's got like that long blonde hair. He talks really weird. He's probably my least favorite character out of any of the movies. And he's in there for like 2 minutes total. So they end up like planting meth at this guy's house so he can't race. And like, the other FBI guy is like, these charges aren't going to stick. And he's like, I don't need them to stick. We just want to cast doubt that he's involved with the cops now.
And didn't he also like Paul Walker Brian had done that because the guy like made fun of him or something, and he was like, you know what I'll do? I'll plant meth at your house and arrest you forever. And like I was like, oh my god, like that's another thing. That's another thing we didn't have anything talked about, especially like in these movies. You find out like the Fast and Furious people are kind of, I mean, they're bad guys.
they kill a lot of people.
Well,
Whoever's in the way.
Actually a line in this movie, Jordana Brewster. I wrote it down because I was like, oh man, what a metaphor. She says to Brian, maybe you're not a good guy pretending to be the bad guy. Maybe you're the bad guy pretending to be a good guy. And I was like, oh, message.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I think that it's true. Because they're always like, no matter what, we have a mission to get done, no matter what. No matter how many people we run over, no matter how many people die in an explosion. All right, so then what's the pinnacle of this? Where does it get to? It gets to Dom, and is this the one where Dom and Dom and Brian finally get a face-to-face meetup, right, with the Brava guy? That's like the plan.
So they do the first run with them.
Okay.
They realize, like, after they're going through these tunnels at the border that are like in caves and stuff to get past Border Patrol. When they get over there, they realize that like they're gonna get killed as soon as they're done. So Dom ends up like turning his NOS on in his car and pressing in his lighter, and then like times it perfectly to where it'll explode, create a diversion.
Yes, he had no intentions.
Escape together, so now they're friends again.
Yep.
On the same side.
Yes.
And they arrange it because they have the supply. It's like $60 million of heroin, he says. So they're like, we know that this Braga guy isn't going to want to lose out on 60 million. So they're like, we'll go ahead and give you your product back if we can get a meet. And Brian's playing that with the FBI. He's like, we're going to make this happen, but you got to lay off a Dom pretty much. But they don't want to trust Brian. They just want the heroin and Dom Toretto. And so he kind of goes off on his own. They end up making the meet. The FBI is on board, and Braga ends up not being like who you think he is.
Yeah,
so there's a guy.
Yeah, there's a guy running. He's like the younger guy. He's like obviously like the main bad guy, but then he's like, I'm not Braga. They like put an old guy out there. They're like, oh, that's him. Charge in there. The cops like go in too early. And it turned out that Braga was the original guy from before, the younger guy that's been running the show. He just was pretending that it wasn't him. And this is where you had your line you showed me today.
This is when, Paul Walker and Dom are standing next to each other, and Paul's explaining, like, this is it. Like, you're good. We do this, and then you're free, and then you get to go, and that's it. And Dom was like, what did he say?
He goes,
milk and cookies out for Santa, Brian. And Brian goes, yeah.
Yeah. You still put milk and cookies out for Santa Claus? And Ryan, yeah. And then it's like then the cops like bust in, and then it all goes it all goes crazy. And then you were watching that one today, so you guys know this one more than me. And then no, it's all right. So Mike, after the big heist kind of blows up right there, what happens?
So after that, I did just watch this today. They realize who it really is. Dom saves Gal Gadot's life. I think her name's Gisela. in these movies. He saves her life when the real Braga and his like main henchman Phoenix are escaping. They try to run over Gal Gadot for some reason. Dom saves her life, so then she's like now part of the family. They're connected. And they go to Mexico, they go to Mexico on their own. Juarez, after the FBI tells Paul Walker, like, you blew this, you're suspended. Him and Vin Diesel go down to Mexico on their own. They kidnap Braga, and they're like, we're gonna take the same tunnels back into the USA.
And these are. Oh, sorry about that. These are the crazy tunnels in like with the border between U.S. and Mexico that are like
mine shafts.
Mine shafts, old networks. Like they're driving through at like 150 miles per hour, and like they know them so well. Like no one ever like. I mean, there's rarely an accident until later, and they actually have to like go there and back, right?
Yeah. And it's so dark. Those scenes are so dark, like you can barely see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But they're driving through it. They end up crashing through. Phoenix is in one car. He's the main henchman. He's chasing after Paul Walker, who's got the cartel leader in his car with him. But they crash, coming back into America through the secret tunnel.
And this is
Phoenix
when they're
about to kill Paul Walker. And then out of nowhere, Vin Diesel shoots out of that cave, and he's driving straight for Phoenix. So Phoenix starts shooting at him. He revs his car up at an angle to which will block the bullets. And then
with his car,
when Phoenix realizes he can't get away, he's about to run, and Paul Walker just grabs his ankle, holds him in place, and he just runs right into him. See you later.
Hammers him, and this is the guy that supposedly killed Letty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So he gets his revenge.
And then Braga goes to jail. Dom turns himself in. You know, with Letty dead, he feels like he's ready to face the music for his past crimes. Brian's trying to help him out because he did just bring down a cartel leader. The judge was not having it. He says, just because you did a good thing doesn't mean it erases the bad things.
Yep, you're going
the max penalty, 25 to life. See you later.
Hop on the bus because
it's
time to go to jail.
Orange jumpsuit, handcuffs. Movie ends with cars surrounding the bus. It's Paul Walker, it's Jordana Brewster, and they're ready to get him out.
And like that, and it goes to black and goes to the credits, and Dom like hears the engines, and he's like, he just smiles, and like then it ends. So, Mikey, nice job, dude, on Fast and Furious. That was the fourth one. You really nailed the storyline. That's one that I am like sitting here live. It is like I don't remember that one hardly at all.
363 million.
363
Isn't
million.
that wild? People really wanted that crew to get back together.
Like a big jump from like what 180 on Tokyo Drift. Yeah, people showed up for this film. All right, well, before we move on, because we're going to tackle the rest of these, I think these are going to go pretty quick. These are where they really pick up, and they're a lot of fun. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're talking Fast and the Furious. I hope you're enjoying the Fast and Furious special. We just wrapped up the fourth one. We're talking Fast 5, arguably the best of the franchise. Don't want to mess around here. Let's just get right into it. I don't know if you've probably already seen the screen, but the budget was $125 million. So they really beefed that up from the fourth one. They gave him, remember, $85 million on Tokyo Drift. Then on Fast and Furious 4, they're like, all right, we'll give you $85 million again. This one, they're like, okay, that was pretty good. Here's $125 million, and they turned it into $626.1 million. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of Civics.
It's a lot of Civics. It's a lot of Camaros. It's a lot of Corona.
It's a lot of Corona.
This is the one where they bring in The Rock.
That was the rest of the budget, from 85 to 125.
Oh, yeah. That was probably the bulk of the budget for the film, was probably just getting The Rock. And this is where it just goes banana land. They went from boosting DVD players in stealing TVs to like. I think we didn't say that like one of the best quotes from Fast and Furious 4. I'm pretty sure it's Ludacris that said, "Man, this is vehicular warfare," and it was like car on car. All right, well this one is like the team is so good at doing jobs that they get a call from The Rock.
No,
Right?
No,
no,
Dom,
that's the next one.
Oh, that's the next one. I'm
No.
gonna. No, you're right. You're
this opens.
well.
This is not.
I'm right, but like I know what you're saying. That's I kind of started to get into another storyline that is The Rock in the next movie, but this one is you get introduced to Rock working with this team that's like bringing down these people that there's people doing these crazy jobs in where are they in this one? L.A.
No, so this one like picks up right after what you see at the end.
Yeah,
of
let's
Fast
put it in
and
reverse
Furious.
for a second.
Oh, let's put it in reverse. I like that. That's pretty good.
So we just saw
I like
Dom
that
go into
too.
jail.
We just saw Dom going to jail. He's on the bus. The cars are there. That's where we left us in Fast 4. Of course, they drop us right back in where we
yeah.
left off.
What are we gonna do?
And you've got Jordana Brewster in one car, you've got Brian in one car, and then you've got the two guys from the beginning of the fourth one who was helping them steal the gas. It's Tego and Rico, I think are their names, but it's Don Omar, who's a singer, a Puerto Rican singer, and Tego Calderon, I think that's his last name, who's like a hip hop artist from Puerto Rico. So like they're pulling in music stars from like other countries now too. So it's not just rappers, it's not just American rappers. They're going global.
Well, this is how you get a worldwide audience is if you get a rapper from each country.
So yeah, it picks up like right away. They break out Vin Diesel from that bus, and then they're all on the run.
Yep. Then they're all on the run, and they're on the run together, and it's like, what are we gonna do now?
And then that's where The Rock comes in. So The Rock is like, I don't even know what branch of, if it's government, if he's like,
he's a
military.
special teams force or something like that. He's like, he's like elite squad, like not CIA, but like above that and tactical. He's like a tactical guy, and he doesn't put up with any bullshit.
And he's like finding anybody that needs to be found and apprehended. The Rock is the guy they go to.
And The Rock comes in swinging with one-liners.
Oh yeah, he was made for this.
Like saying one-liner, like every other line of his was just like a banger of like dissing somebody or saying like I don't eat shit for eggs for breakfast. I don't even know what he says. He says something along the lines.
The Rock in this one, it's called a diplomatic Secret Service agent, Luke Hobbs.
And he brings that girl on to work with him, that new girl, the rookie.
So
Gina.
he gets down to Rio because he's looking for, well, even before that, so Jordana Brewster, so Mia, Brian, and Dom Toretto, they're like going from country to country. They keep going like more south, and they end up in Brazil, and that's where Vince is. And he's like, all right, I got this job.
Vince from the first movie, he's back.
The first movie, he's back. And
he's been there with some chick.
Yeah.
He's got like a wife and a kid now. He brings Dom in on this job, and Brian and Mia, they're all trying to rob these cars from this train. And this scene, like the entire train sequence, they realize that they're robbing these cars from the FBI or the CIA. It's some government agency. They just thought it was like cars, and they realize it's something much bigger.
And they're helping Vince because they're like, we're an old family. You need help with this job. We need money because we're on the run. So we'll help you with this thing because we know you.
Vince is saying, looks like you guys need help.
But
like you're all on the run. What are you going to do?
And then it goes sideways during the train heist.
Yeah, so they realize that one, the cars are like it's a much higher stakes job because they're not just robbing cars from a train. They're like robbing cars that are seized by the government, like the US government, from this train. And it just goes haywire.
Right. And Vin
They, like-
and Vin Diesel and Dom like sees this, and he like sees how like the crew's acting. He like picks up like this is something else, not what we signed up for, and makes the call to like get out of there. Right? This is where he jumps the car out of the train, right?
out of the train and then off of a bridge while I might have it reversed, but like Paul Walker, I think, is hanging on the car and Vin Diesel is driving it and they're like getting shot at and the train's like derailing partially because they exploded the side of the train to like open up to take the cars. And somehow they jump into this body of water from super high, unharmed, superhumans. They're just unharmed, but then they're like, okay, who was this job for? So it causes a bunch of tension with Brian and Dom with Vince. They think that Vince set him up because Vince wasn't there for the job.
Yeah, they come back to the house and they're like, "What the hell, Vince? You know about this? You're setting us up. Like, who you working with? You're working with.
You're the buster.
You're the buster." Brian's like, "I finally can get him back after all those times you calling me that."
So they realize that the job was for, you guessed it, another cartel drug lord.
Yep.
This guy's name is Herman Reyes.
I can't even
and
picture
he,
the
like,
bad guy.
controls Rio de Janeiro.
Right. I can't even
He's just-
picture the bad guy in this one.
He's not very threatening as a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's very like posh for a bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But his henchman looks scary. I'll give him that.
And
got good taste in-
he's got the I do picture him now. He's got the long greasy hair. He like owns the police, and he like that's his thing, right? He's got the whole town under his wallet, and like that's why he has like army people. That's right, like you said, his team is always like full of. He's got plenty of soldiers.
Yeah. So then The Rock realizes who pulled that job off. So he's got a lead on Dominic Toretto. He comes down to Rio de Janeiro with his crew to try to find them. And he asks for a rookie cop, Elena,
Yeah.
whose husband was murdered in Rio de Janeiro. And that's why she became a cop. And she's like, "Why do you want me? I'm like a rookie." And he's like, "Yeah, but I know you can't be bought."
And he said, "I like your smile."
It's true. The Rock is a charmer.
What does he say? What's the first thing the Rock says? It's like the guy comes up to him with his thing for the day, and he's like, "Hey, The Rock, this is what we got today." And the Rock's like, "Give me my dessert first. You know me. I like my dessert first. Give me the cookies."
I got good news and bad news. And he goes, "You know me. I like my dessert first."
I've watched his cheat meals. He does like dessert first.
He does. He
It's
says
true.
that on Instagram. He really does. The guy can put away some sushi.
Yeah.
So then he gives tall orders to like, I want Dominic Toretto and I want him on my porch, hot, cold, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no.
That's the rhythm of a Rock line right there. And that puts him on the path of Dom. How does this? How do they end up connecting?
So he realizes that like Dom and company are in Rio de Janeiro because they're the only people who could pull that job off.
Right, that's the thing. This is Dom and his team are the only people that can do this, and now it's like a trade for your freedom type thing.
So while they're at Vince's and they realize that the car that they stole, because Jordana Brewster got away with a car, and that was the car that they wanted from the train. Like the main henchman was like, "I'm taking this car," and Vin Diesel pulled the audible and was like, "No, you take this car to his sister Mia."
Right.
And so she leaves, goes back with the car. They don't realize why it's so important until so they're trying to figure out why it's so important. They get into the fight with Vince, and then they realize that the cartel is coming after them, or the gang of people are coming after them. At the same time, The Rock and his people are converging on the exact same location.
Right.
So big gun battles. They're in the what are those towns called? I don't know. It's like, oh man, I have to look this up because it's gonna bother me. It's
Isn't
like
this
those Brazilian
isn't this where like The Rock he like shows up and Vin and his team are there and Dom knows everybody or something like that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Let me see.
Do you remember? Is this the one you watched today, or which one did you watch? You watched 4 and
Yeah, I started this one.
you started this one. You didn't get all the way through.
Didn't finish it.
We just watched it not too long ago. I can't believe I thought they'd be way more fresh, you know. But like this is where you know what you remember from the movie. Like it's not always the storyline, which is why I wanted to do this today because the storyline is like tricky, but like no one cares. We're getting ready to get the 10th film. So
And then you're like, well, where's the line between 4 and 5? And
well, this is just to jump ahead in 5. They end up is this the one with the safe?
Yeah. Okay. So they're in the favelas. I looked it up.
Okay.
The
It's a
what?
favela. They're in the favelas. and, like,
Favelas.
it's like all these houses and buildings like stacked on top of each other. So this chase scene where they've got The Rock and his crew and also like the gang of Reyes's guys coming after him. They're like jumping through windows down to like the next level, like through a roof, and they're just like making runs for it.
Yeah. I remember this. They're running on top of the buildings.
And then they get separated. Dom ends up saving Elena from the gang people.
This
So,
is the
like,
cop that The
she
Rock
sees that-
hired.
Yeah,
Right.
she sees that like, oh, they're not actually bad people. Like they're bad guys, but they're not like the worst guys.
Yeah,
They're, you know,
she's like, because they're
they're
like,
bad.
she's like, I'll help you guys, and they're like, why are you gonna help us? And she's like, well, because of you guys helped me a little bit yesterday.
And so they being Brian, Mia, and Dom all escape from that. And so does like the main henchman of the bad guys, but pretty much all the other bad guys get shot and killed by the Rock's team.
Mm-hmm.
And so they escape and they're like, all right, we got to run. We got to leave here, figure out the rest of our lives. But what they found out was why the car was so important was because of something on a chip. So they go figure out what's on this chip and they realize it is the route for all of his drug stash houses.
Jesus.
So it's like a whole money network that was on this like DVD player chip, like SD card. And so the Rock's trying to figure out why. They're trying to figure out why, and they're like, you know what we could do? We could steal this dude's money. So they form this plan, and this is like one of the great we got to get the gang back together scenes
for a heist.
So they're just pulling in like people from every movie, like all your main players from the previous movies.
They're back.
You got Han.
Yep, got Han.
You got Rome. You got Luda.
Yep.
You got Gal Gadot. You got both Don Omar and Tigo. Like
Yep.
they got everyone because they're all special at something. They all have their own thing that they can do.
Yep, and they can only do it the way they do it.
And without them, you know, you wouldn't be able to pull these out.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're gonna heist all this dude's money. We're taking it all from him, and we're gonna get the biggest payday of our lives, and then we're out. We're done.
And we're gonna retire.
And so while that happens, they're going on the drug route, and they're burning the dude's money. And they're like, "Are you crazy? This guy's like the most powerful man in Brazil, and you just came into his drug stash house and burned all his money." And they're
He's
like, "You can't hide." And they pull off their masks,
And
and they're like, "Who says we're hiding?"
He says, tell him who was here.
Right. So that's the reason they do that is because they know he's going to pull all his money from all the safe houses into one place. They estimate at any time like 100 million plus. So like if we can get that safe where all this money is going to be put into, biggest payday of our lives.
And this is where they literally hook into the safe that's like in downtown Los Angeles?
No, they're in Mexico.
They're still in Mexico, but it's in a city.
No, Brazil. They're Rio. They're still in Rio de Janeiro.
They're still in Rio. Okay.
So before even that happens, The Rock captures some of them, and he's like, "We got you. We're taking you in." But then his convoy gets ambushed by Reyes's guys, and he loses all of his men. other than himself. He's the only one that survives.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decides, you know what? I want to take these people in, but these other people just killed all of my men. That's worse. So I'm going to team up with you guys now for this heist. And then afterwards, we'll figure it out. But for the heist, for this thing, we're going to stick it to where this guy hurts.
Right.
And so they hatch a new plan. They end up strapping to, it was like Dodge Chargers. They like take like
They had
souped up
two
Dodge
cars.
Chargers.
They had two cars hooked up to the safe, and they're literally dragging it all over this city. And it's pulling it easily. It's pulling it like a ball of yarn behind like a toy car, and it's smashing through like strip malls and banks, and again cars of people and families and children. A lot of children. A lot of children died.
Allegedly. You don't know.
But dragging this thing through, that's the thing. They hook up the safe, and then Dom pulls a last-minute move to like save Brian.
I think you're supposed to believe everything that ends up happening was all part of their plan.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
But this is where it got hairy. Was like they're both driving the thing. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna get caught. There's too many cops. There's way too many of them." He cuts loose. He lets Brian go, and turns around, and he drives the safe straight into the police
Because Brian, he owed him that from like the last movie. Brian was like, "You go, like, I'll stay here and take it." So this was flipping that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But so when
So
he's trying to
it's-
drive it by himself, it's a lot harder with just one car. So like it's not moving as easily, and he's like trying to drive as fast as he can, but he's, like his car's going up. He loves his car going.
He loves when he has his car. When Vin Diesel has his car when it's dumb, he loves to put it straight up on two wheels and go as hard as you can. Like let's see like he like. He's just driving with it straight up in the air, like here I come.
So he's driving. He finally gets enough momentum to get it to drive, and then you're pretty much at like the final standoff with the main bad guy, his number one henchman against Dom, and they're gonna kill Dom. Why wouldn't they? But then The Rock shows up, and The Rock saves the day.
But then
The main henchman dead.
yes,
The bad guy, like the main bad guy, not dead. They arrest him. They take him in. And he says to Dom, he's like, you know what? He's like, you did me this favor.
The Rock.
I'm going to give you yeah. He says that The Rock says to Dom, he's like, I'm going to give you a 24-hour head start.
24 hours. This is Luke Hobbs. He says, I'm going to give you a 24-hour head start.
whose only job has been to catch him.
Only
Yes.
job.
But because of everything they've been through, he's like, but you have to leave the safe.
And you have to leave the safe, and you just got to go right now.
And he doesn't put up a fight. Then Diesel leaves. Gets back to their meeting spot, only to find out the old switcheroo.
The old switcheroo.
The old switcheroo.
They actually had released the safe into a garbage truck and hooked onto an empty safe at the exact same 2-second window.
Fraction of a moment under a bridge, they swap these massive room-sized safes.
That's all you need.
And The Rock opens up the safe there on the bridge at the end, and it's empty.
And he smiles. He just got bested. He's not even mad. He's like, damn, they got me.
And the team wins. They get their money. They retire. That's it.
Oh. The song that comes on at the end there.
Oh, here we go.
Danza Kudrow, just a great song. And I probably just butchered the way it's pronounced.
What's it called?
It's like Danza Kudra.
I don't.
something like that.
Okay.
So it's actually by Don Omar, who is Rico in the movie. It's his song.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes. That okay.
That's great.
So I
yeah.
just did an episode of Mostly Superheroes, the music show, Fast and Furious episode on Friday. I think that might have been one of the songs on the list that made the top 7 songs.
I don't know any of the words to it, but I absolutely love that song. it gets me hype every time. It actually used to be my ringtone to wake me up in the morning.
I'm trying to think what the main part is. It's like, I wish I could remember. It definitely has that in it. The do. All right, so that's Fast 5, right?
That is Fast 5, but
There's an end credit scene.
there is an end credit scene.
And it's Luke Hobbs. He's at an office, and he's at the desk, and this is after the whole thing, and he's writing down stuff. And the chick comes in, the rookie from before. She's back on the team. I believe it's her. Either that or some other woman that works at the thing.
So Elena actually ends up
Oh,
staying
no.
back
With Dom. She stays with Dom.
Yeah, so her and Dom like had a thing, and she's like, okay,
It's Eva
I'm gonna be with
Mendes.
him now.
Eva Mendes.
It's Eva Mendes.
She's back now.
It's Monica Fuentes. Yep.
And she works in the office. That's right. And she works in the office, and she comes up and she says, "You're going to want to see this." And he goes, "Is it Dominic Toretto?" And she goes, "No." And he goes, "Then I don't get it off my desk," or something like that.
Not interested.
Not interested. Even though, like, you're the one that gave him the 24 hours.
Yes, you let him go.
Like, you're the one that let him go, and now you're like, I'm still looking. Nothing but day and night. And she goes, "You're going to want to see this one." And he opens the file. Letty's alive.
What?
Michelle Rodriguez.
Back at it.
Back at it. She's coming back, and that's what sets us up for.
One big thing we did forget to mention in Fast 5, you find out that Mia is pregnant with Brian's child.
And this is the one where... does she have the baby in this one?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll talk about that in a minute. But, like, I think that's where they start the stuff of, like, one last job again, and do we want to do this forever? They start laying some of that groundwork.
Yeah. When you go in that room, it changes you.
That's the next one.
Yeah.
All right. Fast 6. $160 million budget.
Jesus.
So they got 35 more $million.
Yeah, of course they gave
It
them
made
$160 million.
$788.7 million at the box office. So they gave a little bit more. They're making more. Let's keep it going.
They know the formula.
So this is great. This next one drops us right back in with the gang, right? Like, everybody's happy. Everyone's retired. They got that money from the safe. Where are they living? Are they in Brazil? No, not yet. It's not Brazil, right?
Are they
At
in,
the
like,
end, or in the beginning of this,
London?
No.
They're
They're
somewhere.
like the Dominican or something.
I don't know where they're living.
It's somewhere tropical. They have
Yeah.
it's a beautiful, like a
They're
beautiful.
still in hiding.
Still in hiding.
Is it Cuba?
I think Cuba is Fate of the Furious.
Okay. We'll get there.
We'll get there. So this one, they're living, they're retired, everything's fine, but we saw that in credit scene. Well, we don't miss a beat. The Rock just comes and finds Vin Diesel. Right? Like that just pretty much opens up, and he's like, "You weren't hard to find, Toretto." And Toretto goes, "I wasn't hiding."
Just perfect response.
I love how you guys called him The Rock every single time, except Logan called him his actual character's name twice.
Because
time he's The Rock.
I realized as we approached the end of Fast 5, I was like, I don't think we've ever called him Luke Hobbs. We just kept calling him The Rock.
And it's just a mess of real people's names, their characters' names, and who they play. It just like a tangled web. Like
Yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, and then Ludacris.
But it works. It works. It flows.
Everyone knows. So he basically says the same. He says basically the same thing that was said to him, being Luke Hobbs. He's like, Dom's like, "I'm not interested," and Luke Hobbs is like, "You're gonna want to see this one." Letty's alive. Huge.
So Letty's alive. Obviously, so Dom's like living happily with Elena and Brian and Mia. They're having their kid.
Yep.
You know, they're still on the run, but they're like kind of safe.
They're literally living a happy ending.
And they've got all types of money from the last movie. So yeah, like they're chilling. But
Elena is like, "You need to go look for her because that's what I would do." And I was like, this girl don't give a, like, she's like, "I guess I was just a placeholder."
Yeah, but she gets it because she lost her first husband.
True.
So she's like, I get it.
Well,
if she found out that he was still alive, I think that's the only thing she understood, that he needed to like go at least see it out.
Yes.
See it through.
That's fair.
And
That's
she
fair.
had to letty him go.
That's good. That was good. That was pretty good.
Wow.
She's full of
I was
those.
trying to find that joke earlier, but you crushed it. Well done.
So then Dom is like, I gotta get the team back together to go get Letty and work with The Rock. And so he goes to Brian first, and he's like, Brian, you need to help me with this. And Brian's like, I don't want to really. I want to be a dad, I think. And The Rock's like, so you're not gonna help me? Right?
Yeah, so he goes to Brian, and Brian's like, I was a cop. This is a trick. I used to do this same thing. He's like, she's dead. We were at her funeral. I was at her
He
funeral.
does. He says she's dead. Like, yeah.
You have to let it go. And he essentially says, like, even if there's a small chance she's alive, I'm going to take it. I have to see this through. And so
Jordana Brewster's like, you better both go because I'll feel better about you guys looking after each other.
yeah, we're family.
We're
We stick
family.
together.
If I'm pregnant, you get out of here.
So new dad Brian and Dom team up, and then you kind of start seeing members from the past movie and like what they're doing, and they get calls to meet up. So they all get a call. My favorite part of that was Tyrese's private jet said it's Roman bitches.
Yeah.
On the tail.
On the
I loved
tail.
that. I had never caught that until today when I watched it.
So when we watched it, I literally called that out. I go, oh my gosh, look at this plane. And he's partying with the ladies. And then this is where the series of phone calls, happens. And he calls each team. And they're all like, Ludacris is doing something somewhere in Brazil. Rome's on
He hotwired a ATM machine, just spit out all of its money to all the people around it.
Because those people were like, those two guys were like, you used to be Robin Hood, man. You're better. You think you're better than us now? And he's like, oh, I'll take care of you guys. Hits a glitch and the ATM explodes. Who else they get? They get.
So Han and Gisela are together.
They're together.
You think they might be in Tokyo, but they're not.
Because they mentioned that in Fast 5. He goes, I think I'm going to go check some stuff out in Tokyo. It was almost as if they couldn't do another movie, they had to still make sure that it ended with him leaving for Tokyo. But then he realized, oh, I'm going to stick around for Fast 6.
So he's in Fast 6. Him and Gisela are like talking about like settling down, starting like a life together in like one location because they've been on the run together, just kind of, enjoying life, enjoying.
Yeah,
each
and they
other.
talk about it like constantly. They're on the fence about it, so I guess we're all on the fence about it with them. They're like, are we together or are we not together? They do the whole thing.
So yeah, gang's back together again. They don't bring back Tego and Rico though. They're not in this one.
They're not in this one.
And at the very end of Fast 5, there's like that scene where one of them places all of their money on black, one of them places all of their money on red, and you don't know, but it's supposed to look like the roulette wheel stops on green. So like they both just lost their entire cut. Yeah. And in Fast 6, they make a comment like, "Oh, last we heard they were gambling down in Rio or something like that."
Yeah.
So you don't know where they are.
So then the whole plan here is they're going to have to work with this police force, Luke Hobbs, to go after Shaw, this Shaw guy. Owen Shaw, who is like the big bad of this movie, played by, I don't even know who. You guys have a name? Either way, he's just a classic bad guy, and there's plot aligns because Hobbs needs to stop all of these terrorist attacks happening from this big group that is this Shaw, and then Letty worked for Shaw's crew. So
which is crazy because like you're thinking to yourself like, why would Letty not go back to Don? Like if she's alive, why is she working with his crew? Which
with the first time they get in the counter is at a big shootout between these two groups. And Letty literally shoots Dom in the arm right when she sees him. And we are led to believe, which is true, she has amnesia.
She doesn't know.
She doesn't know anything. She only knows that she's a crime person.
She's really good at shooting.
drive and she can shoot. She doesn't know anything else though.
Nothing
All
else.
gone.
Doesn't know like. Does she know like where she grew up? Like she doesn't remember anybody.
No, she remembers that. I think she says she remembers that she was in an accident, and then she doesn't have like any memory other than like waking up from that accident.
And then what's the big? I think this is the movie where they start going big on that. Not only is there always a bad guy, but there's always a big piece of technology that can like do a lot of things. And I feel like I think this is like the first, like where Shaw is like they're like trying to get. Is this where they're trying to get God's Eye?
No, God's Eye 7.
Okay. But
so
Which
in
is
this
this
one,
Six.
he
This
is trying to steal from a military base, and I can't remember what it is, but like he's gone like around the world, like committing crimes. Like in the very beginning of the movie, they're in Russia, and he had like done some sort of attack on like the Kremlin or something, like but like you can see all the Russian buildings in the background. There's like a car like 4 stories up into this building, and they're like, how did that even happen? So like this guy is crazy with cars too, because he can make them go into 4-story buildings and all this stuff. But you don't really know what his purpose is or why. It's just he's got this group of people, and they're just wreaking havoc across the world.
mm-hmm.
And so they're
Spanish NATO base.
They're trying to steal something from.
What was that
you said-
piece? Sorry, what was that piece? Mike said there. What?
I think it says something about a Spanish NATO base.
Yeah, so that's the military base that they are trying to steal something from, and it might be like a big EMP.
Yeah, it is an EMP. I feel like.
I think it's a big EMP. So they're successful in. Well, so you've got like the whole group is like trying to find leads, because every time they get close to finding Shaw, he's one step ahead, and he's got like this go-kart that's like bulletproof that can like flip cars over because it drives under it. It's like this weird angle, and he's like just driving around London like.
Yeah, it can flip cars. This is the one where he drives under cars. His car is basically a ramp for other cars.
Yeah, so he evades, or he gets away like very easily. They can't catch him, but they're trying to track down any leads that they can find him. Meanwhile, Dom is trying to get back with Letty and have Letty remember like who he is, who the family is, and all that. So you've got like those 2 storylines. Hobbs has another new person with him.
It's like the same exact scene, like verbatim from Fast 5, but it's like a different person. She's like, oh, I'm a new person, I'm a rookie, and he's like, oh yeah, I picked you because of Spunk, and I was like, this is the same movie.
And I think she's like a UFC fighter in real life. Yeah,
Gina Carrera, I think.
Yeah, Carrera.
Nice.
She used to be a fighter.
Yeah.
Well,
and
she's with Luke Hobbs now. She's what?
I said she's just out there kicking ass too. Like her and The Rock are like a tag team out there.
And then I remember like it came to like one big encounter where like it turned out that it's like where the crews are all converging again. Of course, that's the inevitable thing throughout the film. And then Letty has like the device or something. It's like on her briefcase. And this is where like she has that confrontation with Dom, where they have like that one-on-one moment of like where she's like, I think I remember you. And then
so he tracks her down and races her.
Yeah.
In like a street race. So they just do like she's in the underground circuit in London, and you've got Rita Ora being the girl out there just like counting them down, like random cameo for Rita Ora. And so they race each other. They end up like getting chased by the cops. They get away from the cops, and then they're just like in this random place together. And so they kind of talk it out. And she's like, I'm not the same girl that you knew. She doesn't exist. She's dead. Like, that's not me. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So she leaves him, and he's devastated, but he's still going to fight for her. She's Familia.
Right.
So.
Yeah, of course. He's never going to stop. And then, just jumping ahead, it turns out that this Shaw guy, for some reason, ends up in a big tank driving down the interstate.
So that's what, when they steal from that Spanish NATO base, that's what they end up taking is that EMP, but they get a tank. that's in there too.
And Michelle Rodriguez, Letty, is in it with him, and they're going down the thing, and he's literally he decides once he's getting chased by the Fast and Furious squad, I guess that's their team name, he drives into the opposite thing of traffic into oncoming traffic and is running over cars one by one and literally going like, ha, 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 ha.
Oh, yeah, just murdering tons of people.
Murdering so many people. And Letty finally goes, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? And this is when he decides, I'm going to test Dom to see if he actually cares about Letty. And he puts her on the top of the tank as he approaches the bridge. And this is the big sequence where she's on top. The Rock is driving like 150 miles an hour and can see that she's on top of this tank and knows it's going to wreck and that she's going to fall off. And he times it just right from his car. Dom, what'd I say?
The Rock.
Dom.
Rock.
Sorry, Dom, then Diesel. And he sees that this is going to happen. So he gets on his car going like 150 miles an hour, gets to where his car wrecks into the side of the bridge. He flies off literally like Superman and catches her across the median on this bridge that's, 600 feet in the air, catches her, hits his back on the car. Like he was going 50 to 60 miles an hour and hit a car.
So they're chasing him. Tyrese gets like caught in front of the tank, but it's not smashing his car yet.
Just pushing him.
He's got one of those like same pulley systems that they had for the bank vault in the fifth one.
Yeah.
So he ties it around the top of the
tank, like the gun.
Tank. And then he gets out of the car by jumping onto Paul Walker's car in like a similar fashion, like just jumps from a tank to the car. He sends Letty up to go and like take care of that because now they're dragging this car. And so Roman and and Brian are trying to get this car over the bridge. So it'll be like an anchor and like take the tank down with it.
And it takes them like 3 or 4 times. The car's like going up on the thing and then it falls down. It goes up on the thing and then it finally.
But then that's when they realize that, yeah, Letty's on there and the bridges are splitting at this point. So it's almost like the New York Miami thing again, where it's like going like this and Dom crashes, jumps out. Yeah. Across the split.
It was 100 feet.
A miraculous save.
100 feet. Catches her like a baseball going into a mitt. It was like real fast, really caught her, and she goes, and he hits the car, and the windshield shatters, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, he's fine. Not a scratch on him.
Oh, never.
What a save.
It's not his contract. Yeah.
So then he's still got the device, though. He gets away. Letty's like, all right, I can see the team that I want to be on. Like, not the team that's murdering people in a tank, but the people trying to stop it. So she's back on board Team Fast and Furious squad. And they figure out that he is trying to escape in this like military cargo plane that's going to like land, open up, they're going to drive in and then fly away. So it's like a real quick getaway.
So he thinks.
And this runway has to be the world's longest runway because the entire scene takes so long and this plane is
taking off. It is taking off for 25 minutes.
But because they
The rest of
added
the
weight,
movie.
The rest of the movie, yeah.
we have to pick up speed because we added this weight. So it's just taking forever for them trying to take off. So the Fast and Furious crew all have their cars. They're trying to stop this plane from taking off. Some of them are in the plane. Then you find out that Hobbs's new partner is a bad guy.
She's a bad guy.
Has been the whole time.
It's out of nowhere.
Just now she's helping, and so they're on this plane.
And Rome is like the first one, I think. He's like, I'll help and I'll shoot at something inside the plane, and he accidentally latches his car onto the moving plane. And he go ahead.
And yeah, so because they're like latching the cars on there, it's too much weight and it's holding the plane down.
So then they're like, oh, I see what we're doing. Everyone latch on.
And then you've got other ones in there fighting the crew inside of the plane, trying to get the device back from Shaw. And so there's like a fight in the plane. There's cars fighting with the plane. There's people shooting at the cars. Unfortunately, Gisela Gal Gadot does not make it out alive.
No, she has a tragic fall. Which
She does.
and she honestly, like, I mean, geez, she like really killed herself, I feel like. Because like I feel like she didn't have to do that. She like jumps off and like shoots backwards. I was like, why didn't you just do this? But
Well, the
anyway,
plane-
Why didn't
Exploded.
anyone save her?
no, and there's no justice for Gal. What's her name in the movie?
Giselle.
Giselle. Justice for
Gisela.
Gisela.
Yeah, one of the two.
So Han loses her. When then they crash the plane. I mean,
They crash the plane. Shaw is not dead, but he is hurt very badly. He's in like a coma now.
he's
They get
mega
the device back.
mega messed up.
Yeah. They get the device back.
It looks like Dom's dead because he was the last one driving, and
Yes.
it was the one that like brought it all down, and everyone's just literally staring at the wreckage, and then Dom comes around, and everybody cheers.
But it's like, you did just lose Gal Gadot.
And Jordana Brewster Mia finally goes, "Where's Giselle?" And Han's like, "I'm going to Tokyo finally," after talking about it for 3 movies.
So yeah, so their deal for the whole thing was if they brought down Shaw, they would get immunity, all of them. And so that's why they did it. So they're all free to go back home
Because
to
they
LA.
wanted to go back to that shitty house in L.A. They were like, we got to get back in that shitty 3-bedroom house that's in the middle of a junkyard. We really miss it.
Like a Weber grill.
All the Coronas, back to the garage.
They're back having their Sunday dinner together as a family. They're all outside. Han says he's going to Tokyo.
Luda and Tyrese have a bunch of back and forth. More, I think he makes that forehead joke again.
So I told Andy this earlier. The scene where he goes, "Uh-oh, hide the baby oil," when The Rock shows up. He goes, "You better hide that big ass forehead." You see Ludacris like do a spit take. So that apparently was not in the actual like script. That was just like ad-libbed on the thing, and that was Ludacris's like genuine reaction.
That's
That
awesome.
was pretty cool.
It looked like a genuine reaction because it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was just like perfectly executed.
The bustin' balls is definitely one of my favorite aspects of all the films.
And then we have a cut scene at the end of this one too.
Yeah, so the movie ends, happy ending, but then we get out of nowhere the scene from Tokyo Drift. And this is where we find out what happened to Han. Turned out Han wasn't just murdered, or wasn't just in a bad car accident during the big chase during Tokyo Drift. He was actually killed intentionally by a man by the name of Deckard Shaw. And he kills Han. He leaves a voicemail he makes a phone call. Then Dom answers, and Jason Statham Deckard Shaw says, "I'm coming for you," or something. And he blows up the car that Han's in. So this is where we find out that Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious 3, is a prequel meant to take place between this movie that we've just now seen, Fast and Furious 6, going into Fast and Furious 7.
Talk about the long con.
But if you watch those movies, it seems pretty intentional.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like completely like we were just gonna try this. It seems like, I mean, he's like, I used to run with another crew. It's like, how'd they know? Did they really plan on it?
But that could have been taken as anything.
Just to maybe bring him back or something, maybe.
I'm just saying they could have taken it. They made the pieces fit how they wanted them
That's
to.
true. Yeah,
And you can always find a way to make something fit.
that's true.
If
All
it
right.
would have started losing money, it wouldn't have mattered. But they're printing money making these, so
Exactly.
Well, and speaking of money, again, Fast and Furious 6 made $788 million. Are you ready for this next one? So I'm gonna say that they got like 200 something million for the budget. They got 160 for Fast and Furious 6. I want to say they got like 215 or 220. I don't want to pull it up yet because I want you guys to guess. Anybody want to guess what they made on Fast and Furious 7, titled Furious 7?
100.
I'm gonna guess over 900 million.
100 million.
100 million?
100.
850.
850 million, 900 million.
1,000 million.
So a billion?
A billion.
I think you're trying to say a billion.
100.
$1.5 billion.
What?
I mean, when PC Mike says they're printing money, I mean, they're printing money now.
This makes me furious.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want.
All right. Man, these are taking a lot longer than I thought. It's almost, man, we've already been 45 minutes for that one. So we got 7, and then Fate, and then Hobbs and Shaw. All right, let's see if we can, like, book it through these next 3. I bet we can go a lot faster. So Furious 7 picks up right where it left off. He gets that call. They open up with the same scene. Dom says, I'm going to go back to Tokyo and get Han's body. And he does. And he talks to Sean from Tokyo Drift. He's back in the movie.
Wow.
And he's like, oh, yeah, Han said you guys always hung out a lot. And Ben was like, yep.
You don't fit in here.
And they had a long talk, and I was like, you need to get back because there's somebody coming for your family. Well, he gets back. Brian and the family are like, they're there. They're loading up. Oh, Brian has the baby. This is the one where they have the baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one where he says, Dom says, everything changes when you go into that room, Brian. And now he's like telling him not to be in any cruise. He's like, you need to just be a dad now. Even though he was mad at him in 6 for being a dad and not helping him with the job. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys ever noticed that. So then in this one, they're at the LA house. Brian's loading up the baby. Jordana Brewster's there. There's a box on the porch from Japan, a package, and Dom says something like, Han must have sent me another one of those carburetors. Something like that. Then he gets that phone call. House blows up. There's a war established, and it's Deckard Shaw getting revenge for his brother being put in the hospital. And you do get an awesome sequence of Jason Statham at the beginning of this shooting up the hospital where his brother was kept. He had like basically killed everybody. And like that's the arch nemesis in this one. And this is where The Rock comes back because he's going after Shaw. And this has gone so high up in the hierarchy of government that we now have Kurt Russell in the film as like the lead guy. Kurt Russell's in this movie. He's like leading the team. And he's basically facilitating how The Rock and the Fast and Furious squad work. And it's all because Dom's at war with this Shaw guy. It's again, two paths, same team. And they work like directly with The Rock again, right? But The Rock is hurt in this one.
Yeah, so
The Rock
Deckard
can't,
Shaw-
The Rock is like he attacks Deckard Shaw in his office, and they have a big fight sequence where he like messes up The Rock, and The Rock falls out of a building, catches that girl, breaks his arm. He goes to the hospital. He's in a cast, and he's not in the movie like the whole time.
Yeah, so he breaks into Hobbs's office, Deckard Shaw does, to figure out who worked with him to hurt his brother, because he sees his brother's hurt. He breaks in there. Then he goes and breaks into wherever The Rock is. They catch him. The Rock and him get into this big fight. Rock's really hurt and injured. He gets away, and then he's like, I'm gonna kill all these people. They hurt my brother. He's in a coma. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, and he's just after him. He's like openly going after all of them. Anywhere he sees they are, he attacks them. There's a lot of fights whenever they're on missions and stuff looking for him. He's actually looking for them. It's like a very much you're hunting each other type movie. And then at the pinnacle of this thing is a hacker that they're trying to secure that has invented this technology called God's Eye that can find any person on the planet at the touch of a button.
And Shaw has that. Shaw's like trying to get that as well. I think he's in possession, and that's how he's able to find these people.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And then they take it from him, I guess.
Yeah, so Mr. Nobody, Kurt Russell, is like, you guys partner up with me, and we're gonna go get this. So we've got like all the resources at your disposal, but you need to take him down, and we need to find the hacker who can overtake this device. And she's been like kidnapped by terrorists.
And then they get her, and this is the girl that's
forcing her
from.
to hack.
She's from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
She's like Khaleesi's right-hand chick in Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. I forget her name, but she's really great in this movie. Ludacris like has a thing with her, and like this is where she gets kind of like brought on the team because they rescue her, and now she's like helping them because they're this is where she says, "You guys are good people. I could tell like, that you guys are good because you saved me." And she's like supposedly the best hacker in the world, but apparently not better than or just as good as Ludacris, who is now recognized as just a champion world tech hacker who knows everything about all technology now. He used to run a garage in Los Angeles and then a garage in Miami.
And then he figured out ATMs, and now God's Eye.
I mean, he hacked that entire safe to have like the safe work for them to be able to get into it. The unhackable safe in Fast 5.
The unhackable safe.
He has shown that he can do it.
Yeah,
That's true.
he's got the tech.
They do build it up. So then they go back and forth with Shaw. There's tons of great sequences in this one. This is the one where Letty catches Brian like with the tail of her car with a spoiler as he's falling off the cliff after he runs up the school bus, and it's like he's literally running up the school bus as it's falling down, and he grabs on the spoiler, and he gets out, and she's like, "You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, thanks." And they don't. That's it. I think that's this one.
I think I made a joke about like the only time a spoiler was ever like needed on a car.
Yeah, right. The one time a spoiler.
Most of them.
The one time a spoiler had a function. So they get God's Eye, right? And they use it to like find him.
Yeah, so they end up having her like hack it, and then he had taken control of a stealth helicopter and drone and was like honing in on them. And then that's when The Rock comes back.
This is when they're in they're back in LA.
Yeah, and he like busts out of his cast.
He busts out of his cast. He looks at his daughter and he goes, "Daddy's got to go to work." And he busts out of his cast and he shows up and he like saves the day essentially. And
he steals a ambulance and drives it into the helicopter.
well, he steals an ambulance and then shows up, and the Vin Diesel has like discovered, like he's like up on top of the parking garage, and he's cornered by this helicopter, and half of the parking garage has like crumbled from all the mass destruction from this big fight that's happening at the end. And to take down the chopper, I guess Shaw's not in the chopper, is he?
No, I think it's an unmanned like stealth drone chopper.
Yeah, and he said it looks like he's decided, being Dom, I'm going to wreck this car from this parking garage to the helicopter. And he drives and goes to do it. Well, it turns out he had a bag of grenades in his car. He misses the helicopter, hooks on the grenades to it. The Rock is on the ground, and he's shown up to help his Fast and Furious friends. But like, unbeknownst to Dom, but apparently Dom knew, because the Rock pulls out his pistol from like 250 yards away, shoots the grenades that Dom has put there, and it blows up the helicopter. Perfect plan. I mean, it looked stunning. It looked amazing.
And then and then Shaw goes to jail.
Shaw goes to jail. And I don't know if we get an end credit scene in this one.
No.
Mike says no. I see PC Mike saying no.
So after that happens, they're all going to go back to their lives. And this is where we get the like cutscene where like the Wiz Khalifa song "See You Again."
Yeah, this is this is 7. This is the big sign off. We haven't even talked about it, but Paul Walker passed away several years ago. Just we featured this song, but we lose
while they were filming
It was while they were filming, so he had actually been in a big chunk of the movie.
Yeah.
And
his
brother came in. They used him for like the end scene. They did CGI. And in the film, the story, Brian O'Connor actually gets a send off of like, yeah, I kind of like this. They like basically said like he's a dad and he's going to be a dad from now on. And like it comes up in 7. They're like, should we call Brian about this? And they're like, no, we said we wouldn't do that anymore. But man, I cry every single time I watch that.
Very
That little piano.
Talk
you're
about
just
a powerful song.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so good. And then he starts rapping, and it's just like, oh boy. And then like they do that one last race. Whew. All right, getting to the end here. So Fate of the Furious. $250 million budget. So they got literally they had 190 last time. So this time their budget is 250 million. They didn't make as much this time. $1.2 billion. That's an insane amount of money. I don't even like. I even did all the decimals. 1.239 billion. All right, so this is the one where Charlize Theron finds Dom in the beginning of Fate of the Furious, F8, Fate of the Furious, and she says, "You're gonna do the one thing you swore you never do: turn against your family." After showing him a file, and he goes, "Okay." And I forget what she has on him. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll just get there.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, but Dom disappears. They do this. They have to do this job. Luke Hobbs finds out about this job in some country. He says, "I have a squad that can help me with this. I have the best team in the world. It's the Fast and Furious team." He pulls them all in. The whole plan goes off great. Luke Hobbs and Dom are driving by each other. And Luke says, "After all this, I'll buy you a beer." Dom turns on the rock, wrecks him, drives away, leaves the team. And it's the team versus Dom in Fate of the Furious. Kurt Russell comes back. He brings in the whole squad. And Letty's like, "I just can't believe this." Keep in mind, still amnesia. This is like Letty version 2, basically. Rewrote the whole character. Brings in the team. They're like, "What are we doing?" She's like, "Dom would never turn against us." People are like, "Well, maybe he would." Ludacris is kind of like, "Maybe." The hacker chick from Game of Thrones, she's like, "Yeah, he may have." And Letty's like, "You better shut up. You're new." Like, what are you talking about? And then Tyrese is like, "Why don't we just use God's Eye?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, forgot about God's Eye." They put in God's Eye. They just type in Dominic Toretto. And it goes, "Here he is." And then they go, "Oh, nope, it's not everywhere. They hacked it. God's Eye doesn't work anymore." Okay.
Yes.
They get a real lead. It puts them all at the same place. They're going against this squad. And Vin Diesel basically has a moment where the whole Fast and Furious team is on the ground. They've been flashbanged. And they can't see. They're disoriented. But Letty sees The Rock. And then Charlize Theron makes out. I'm sorry. Vin Diesel. Dom. She sees him. And Charlize Theron like makes out with him and kisses him. And it's like, ooh, shit.
Charlize Theron is the bad guy.
Charlize Theron is the dreadlocked bad guy chick that has like all sorts of technology. She works for like a team that has like unlimited money, and their overall goal is to.
They're cyber terrorists, and
They're
they want
cyber-
to start a nuclear war. And her name is Cypher, which is just a wild name.
Cypher. I like
Cypher.
it. I like it. She's great in this movie. I think she played a good villain. She committed to the role.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then turns out she's keeping a hostage. And she finally reveals to us, like it's like 30, I don't know, I want to say like 60% of the movie, you finally get the story. Oh, she's captured Ilana, The Rock's teammate, Vin Diesel's ex-lover. Turns out Vin Diesel has a baby.
There's 2 hostages.
And it's a baby, or 2 hostages, and it's, you're going to do what we say or we'll kill your son. Well, finally, Dom is playing the game all the way until the end, but he does have a trick up his sleeve and basically works it out to where Jason Statham is going to come help the Fast and Furious squad, and they're going to all have to work together, which is bananas because he killed Han. And they all have to work together because Kurt Russell said so. And it's because this guy is the best at something.
Well, so they realize they try to make him seem like he's got this code and he only takes jobs that are that will allow him to sleep at night. And he was set up. He was like an MI6 agent that was set up to look like he committed all these war crimes, but he never did. And so he had to be like a mercenary for hire pretty much because that was the only way he could make money. And he was this one of the best special MI6 agents in the world.
Right.
And so they really try to bring the overarching that he's not actually a bad guy, even though he killed Han. He's got this code and
yeah, and he says throughout the movie, he says things like, I made a lot of mistakes in my past that I'm not proud of. And, we have all done things, which is so true. They all have. They're all murderers.
Yeah.
All right, so then they all end up, there's a secret plan. It's so fun. This is where Jason Statham breaks into the plane and saves Vin Diesel's baby. And he does the great sequence where he fights off the entire airplane battalion with the baby, either in his hand or kicking the baby around in that little carriage.
Very Mando-esque.
Very Mando-esque. Elena, she dies.
Yeah,
She gets a
did.
bullet in the head because he didn't kill Letty or something when he had the chance or something. He let Letty go. I think I did that again. I got ahead of myself in one of the other movies. That's when Letty has a briefcase or something. They have this moment, and it's I don't know, it's something like that where they it's basically he messed up, so they kill her. All there's left is the baby. They win. They beat the bad guy. They all get their freedom again. I mean, they basically won, and Letty is basically to Vin Diesel, I knew you were just doing. She was okay with everything. I was like, man, no questions. But he's got a son though, and he names it.
Elena's gone though, so she's like,
yeah, she's in. Letty's in, and they named the kid Brian, which was a really nice moment. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's Fate of the Furious. All right, last one. Such a fun one. All right, last movie before we wrap this thing up. Thank you for bearing with us. I mean, this is a journey, doing all of them.
a real saga.
A real saga. Hobbs and Shaw. Luke Hobbs, Deckard Shaw, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Statham team up in the Fast and Furious spinoff that came out in 2019 with a $200 million budget. It made $759 million. I mean, that's just, what are we talking about? It's a banana money. Idris Elba's in this movie. He plays basically a black Terminator. I mean, he calls himself Black Superman in the movie. And basically, there's a organization. Do you guys remember what they're called? That's out to do some bad things in the world. And Kurt Russell brings. Isn't Kurt Russell in this one again? No, he's not in this one. Kurt Russell's not in this one. He's in 6 and 7. Because in 7 he comes back and he is that young kid agent. And the kid agent is so funny because he's the one questioning the skills everyone can do. And Kurt Russell's like, no, they're good at this.
I think it's Etion or something like that.
Etion. It's some evil group. And this time they've got biological enhancing things. Vin Diesel's not in this. None of the crew's in this. This is just a Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. I know there are egos about this. I don't think The Rock and Vin Diesel like each other, in real life, is what I've heard. There's a pretty real rivalry, and like Tyrese spoke out about this movie too, saying like, that's not what we were about. Like, what the heck's going on with this spinoff? But it's so much fun. I mean, it was such a great movie. Me and Carrie and I've seen it twice. And I mean, as far as the storyline of Fast and Furious goes, this is, I feel like, setting up something for Fast 9. Just to kind of breeze through the storyline of this one. Big tech company that can basically run the media. They can run like all technology. And there's this voice throughout the whole movie that's running this company that's giving the instructions to like Idris Elba and to everyone involved. And Hobbs and Shaw are the only two people that can do this. They shouldn't play well together because they're enemies, but then they end up learning like the value of teamwork in this film. I feel like that's stealing a little bit from How Did This Get Made? Good podcast that talks about these movies. Definitely check those out. They talk about all these. But like literally, you talk about superheroes, Mikey. Like this is literally where they take it to the level of Idris Elba in the first 10 minutes of the movie punches through a metal door to like a truck with his bare hands and just punches it down.
He's got like, they like inject him with stuff to make him like a superhero or supervillain.
At one point in the movie, his spine is all the way open, like to the camera, and they're like putting technology onto his spinal cord, like with surgery.
Cybernetic implants, I think, is what they call it.
And it's human. Oh, and he's like, I'm human evolution. Says something like that.
I am on his Wikipedia, and he has a 1-0 kickboxing record. So, who knows?
Who does?
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. He's great. He's great in this movie. So much fun. You get the girl. I forget her name. She's Deckard Shaw's sister. She's the one that like is after this. Oh, this one's a biological weapon. That's what Idris Elba's after. That's what the company's after. Deckard Shaw's sister sticks it in herself at the beginning of the movie. This is what brings the three of these people together. Idris Elba cannot catch Hobbs and Shaw no matter how hard he tries. There's a lot of good chase scenes. He's got like a transformer crotch rocket in this one. This is where like it makes the transformer noise, like literally when he's riding it, it's like and it can like when he's not around it, he can like call the motorcycle to him and it comes to him. This is also one where like they like run down the building with cords in their back and the Rock just jumps after them.
Just ridiculous.
This one's like crazy. This one's bananas.
Well, yeah, they go to the Samoa where like the Rock is from.
That's right.
And this is where they fight. They do a standoff, and they're able to disarm the bad guys' weapons because they're so based in technology. They could like depower them. But the Rock's he basically makes his whole family get into a war with this random group of people, and they're gonna fight him with their shirts off and original Samoan like weapons, like hammers and axes.
PC Mike, you know who's in this movie is Roman Reigns.
Oh, is he Samoan? Yeah, that makes sense.
He's the Rock's brother or cousin in this movie.
His cousin, his brother. His brother's the best mechanic in the world and can fix the machine that can take the virus out of Deckard Shaw's sister's blood, but only if it's on her for like 24 hours. And so they fashion it into a backpack so that she can fight in the battle with everyone.
Makes sense.
What the hell?
Adds up to me.
And I bet you guys couldn't guess this, but Hobbs and Shaw win.
Hobbs and Shaw win. They know teamwork. And it's a really great scene at the end where Idris Elba gets like a message from the voice that's been like running the show the whole time. And we don't know who this voice is. And they shut him down and he falls into a waterfall. I wonder if he'll be back. Duh. The question here is, who is the voice? I want to hear some theories because I think they're setting up the villain for Fast 9, F9. First of all, let's just take a moment to give ourselves a round of applause for getting through the entire Fast Saga. Like, that was intense. I know it was long. I'm going to be cutting this one up into pieces, I feel like. But thank you guys for getting us through that. And Mikey, you said you weren't an expert. You're definitely an expert.
I probably got some stuff wrong in there.
Yeah, we
Also,
always do. Fact
The
check us.
one thing that we forgot to mention in all the movies that I just want to point out, I don't even remember which one it was, 6, 7, or 8. I think it was 7 or 8. They drive from one skyscraper to another.
How do we not
like,
talk about this?
40
So-
stories in the air.
That's in Dubai.
It was in 7.
It was in 7 in Dubai, yes.
And you get a little foreshadowing right in the beginning when you see Brian with his kid, because his kid has a little toy car and he's like playing with it. And Brian goes, "Cars don't fly." Right in the beginning of the movie.
They
And
do
remember,
now. That's a lie.
that's the line he's yelling at Dom as they're driving through the window. He goes, "Cars don't fly, Dom. Cars don't fly." And not only does it fly once, it flies twice through 2 buildings.
Yes. And Ronda Rousey's in that movie.
Ronda Rousey's in that movie. She fights Michelle Rodriguez. Trying to think of any other big stunts that we missed.
I liked the
All has an end credit scene.
Jason Statham in jail when he's like busting out of jail when they like first fought.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was in Hobbs and Shaw or
that's in
had to
Hobbs
have
and
been at the very beginning of
Yeah,
Hobbs and
that
Shaw,
is
maybe.
Hobbs and Shaw.
that is Hobbs and
That
Shaw.
was a good scene. That was like quick, tight camera work across like the top of the jail and stuff.
And he really does do like 90% of his own stunt work. And he really cut loose in this film. He was doing so much.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I like when they dress up in their disguises and they fly coach in Hobbs and Shaw. and the Rock has on a beret.
And
and
what were their names?
and like a mustache.
Mike Oxmall.
Oh, Mike Oxmall.
Yeah.
And they're just
Isn't that Kevin Hart? Isn't he the TSA guy?
yeah.
Yeah,
and
He's like-
said that.
Or
he's
the air marshal?
air marshal. He's like, you can call me for helicopters, tanks, anything. I'm your guy. And then Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
He's in this movie. Has the same tattoo as The Rock.
They're just, I don't know, they're fun.
Yeah, I would
They
say
go.
like overall thoughts. I mean, again, like you can laugh at them and like especially when you do this, you sit down for 3 hours and talk about the storyline, you're gonna laugh at some stuff. But like again, I've always been like here for the ride. Like I am here for the stunts. I'm here for the one-liners. I'm here for the ball busting. I'm here for as much as The Rock as you want to give me. Jason Statham now being a part of this franchise. Here's my theory on the voice. I think it might be Han.
Ooh.
And like that he might be like not dead and like in a bad and
Also
like
evil.
yeah and also like evil because like no one's like vindicted him or something, you know, like maybe there's something like that.
Maybe Sean
So,
got bored of drifting.
They had released a trailer for Fast 9.
No.
Yeah, they have.
Oh no.
It came out earlier this year.
What? An actual trailer? Like a
Yes,
teaser?
It's very small.
Yeah.
Like it's not a super long trailer. Yeah, John Cena is in the 9th one.
Oh my
And I'm
god.
pretty sure he is like Vin Diesel's brother or relative. And I think he's evil. But I don't want to ruin it. Do you care if I talk about it?
No, of course. This is the Fast and Furious special, dude. Have it out. I mean, these are just theories. Go ahead. I mean, like if it's in the
So-
trailer.
So the trailer, they're like at their whatever their secret hideout or clubhouse or whatever it is these days. They're talking about it, and you hear like a crinkling bag. The camera flips. Han's eating snacks.
Oh,
Han
yeah.
is alive.
Oh my
And
god.
he says like nice hideout.
Yeah,
Nice-
I remember something like that. I don't know if I had put together that. I just don't remember it that
Or-
vividly.
Or is 9 actually in between 4 and 5?
it's possible.
Maybe we get like Han before Tokyo Drift.
On
Again,
his way to Tokyo, he went to New York.
right?
Maybe there's like a multiverse Fast and Furious thing going on where they somehow opened up like a ripple in time.
I would love that, but I feel like they have to go to space before they can like open up like multi dimensions.
That's how you get
That's
there.
how they do it is they go to space. Okay.
Yeah, I want them to take it as far as they can. I saw that like Tom Cruise was like in talks to maybe be the first actor to do a scene in actual space, And I mean, if there's a movie that has the budget to do this, it's Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Especially when you're making 1.5 billion for a film.
Fourth most all time when it was released.
Wow.
PC Mike, as a novice person that just sat here with us the entire time, I mean, we're all fans. How do you feel, and what are your thoughts on what we've just discussed as the Fast Saga?
I mean, I'm going to give you guys credit because I was like on the wikis as you guys went through. You guys were 1,000 times more detailed than the Wikipedia articles I was looking at. I was like, where in the world are we? But no, you guys did a good job. They seem entertaining, most of them. I think Andy's probably on the same wavelength as me. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see where it goes, and if you guys enjoy them, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you can borrow them anytime.
I agree. I'm more likely to watch them now than I was 3 hours ago. So that means you guys did your job.
Well, this is a great episode to get you excited for it again. I believe. Oh, we can do these real quick. So we have a lot of these images came from Wikipedia, also from IMDb. Fast 9, titled F9. We're talking about it now. Coming May 20th, 2020. Directed by Justin Lin again. I already talked about theories of who the voice is, but thanks for the recap on the trailer. I guess I kind of remember it, but I'm gonna have to look that up. Make a point to do that. Excited for that movie, and then these are the last 5 or 6 movies, or the last 4, and then they also have Fast and Furious 10 on Google results for 2022, and then an Untitled Hobbs and Shaw sequel with no date.
They're never going to stop.
I don't think they will.
Why would they?
At this point, you really I don't know if you can't. If you do, I guess you're gonna have to. You better wrap it up. Is all I'm saying.
I can't wait in 20 years when there's a movie with Brian and Mia's son and Dom's son Brian, and it's just the next generation of Fast and Furious. I'm in. I don't care.
Yep.
If they're making hundreds of millions of dollars each time, they're going to pump it out until this thing is dry. So strap in.
I think there's a Netflix animated series already.
Oh my gosh! Of course there is.
I haven't dove down that well though. That's where I'm drawing the line right now. Right?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'm trying to picture the Fast and Furious where it's their kids and it's something with car seats or something. It's put in your car seat. Because you always have to have a tagline with every Fast movie. So it's what's the next generation? I mean,
It's just next gen Hondas.
That's perfect.
There you go.
Well, I'm here for it. I know this was a long episode. So Mikey, Carrie, thank you for coming for your first episode ever. I think we did the Fast Saga justice. We definitely covered the story for you diehard fans out there. Hope you enjoyed it. Definitely go check out our Mostly Superheroes the Music Show. There's a Fast and Furious music episode there. It's a lot shorter than this one, and we feature the top 7 songs from the franchise as by Time Magazine. So go check that out. And with that, we'll talk about what's coming up. So we're going to wrap up the show here for you. We're going to be talking about some things in the coming weeks. We are going to do some kind of Thanksgiving special. We've talked about that. I don't know what that'll be, but just with seeing how we can do these Zoom things right now, even though things are in shutdown, I don't think there's any reason we can't get together. Mandalorian. Andy brought it up during the break. We didn't talk about it on this episode, but episode 3 is out now on Disney Plus, and I'll just speak for Carrie and I when I say it's just another home run, and the show is on fire. And every time I watch it, I am just mesmerized and so excited to be watching a Star Wars TV show.
Agreed.
You guys would say the same, enjoying it?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to be negative, but I do have one negative thing about it.
Let's hear it.
They keep getting about 10 minutes shorter each time they're released. The first one was 55 minutes, then we went to 45. Now we're at 35. By the time the season's over, it's going to be negative 10 minutes that we're going to be watching The Mandalorian. So I hope they bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And you can feel it end, and you're like, oh, that seemed quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, Mandalorian, you heard PC Mike. Let's keep those at 55 minutes and stop turning them back. we'll take the extra footage.
Yeah. Throw it in there.
movie ratings and ranking tournament event. This is something that's just going to happen in 2021, I feel like, with the holidays. So we're going to get that for you, but that's going to be something we're going to put a lot of thought into. So we'll stop talking about it, give you a couple weeks off, and we'll swing back around when it's time. But it's coming. Batman Returns Christmas special. December's right around the corner. We'll be doing that. And then we're going to let the VHS Watch Party contest go one more week. We have it down to Jurassic Park, which my VCR is busted, so I got to buy a VCR. It ate this tape.
No.
And then Dogma. So Jurassic Park or Dogma. We have a post out there on all our social channels. Cast your vote. We're going to live watch the winner. And I have an exciting announcement. I don't know exactly how it all works, but we just watched our first event on there this past weekend. We're going to have a Twitch account for Mostly Superheroes, and we're going to start doing some live stuff on there and get a channel. So we'll keep you posted on the details. I haven't even done it yet, but we might do our live watch party. Maybe Twitch is the first place we do it. Maybe we do it on Twitch, Instagram, and a few. More to come. And then we already talked about The Undoing on HBO, but we definitely want to keep Carrie and I are enjoying it. PC Mike's enjoying it. Mikey and Andy, I don't know if you've seen it yet on HBO, but maybe put it on your list, and we'll keep more of that coming on the episode as well. Guys, thank you again for joining us. Mikey, how was your experience for your first time on the show?
Oh, it was great. I really appreciate you having me. It was awesome.
Well, I'm really glad we did because you definitely knew your stuff on Fast and Furious. And Carrie, how was your first experience?
It was great. Thank you very much.
Down in the studio instead of upstairs, usually.
Instead of being very quiet upstairs. So I'll be back for the Twilight episode.
Yep, that's going to be in our future too. We're definitely going to be talking about the Twilight films, so we'll be back for that. But thank you for joining.
Of course.
Giggler, PC Mike, as always, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us via Zoom and making this happen. And more to come on Mostly Superheroes. Go check us out on our social channels in between and on mostlysuperheroes.com. We'll see you later and have a good rest of your day.